Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Oh, now I understand. Here we go. From New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. This is what he said. This is all a big misunderstanding. I'm on a diet and I ordered my staff to close the fridge, not the bridge. I get it. Here comes Kate Smith. God bless America, followed by Patriots with a Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning on a Wednesday. Thank you very much, Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning, everybody, on a Wednesday morning, April 16th, and I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, 734-6969. Good morning to Gina.
And good morning to you.
That was very nice. You must have sang in a rock group.
Joan Jett. That's the only person I can actually sing dead on.
I would love to hear that someday. Joan Jett. I haven't heard her name mentioned for a long time.
You know she's on tour right now?
Is she back in the recording business?
Oh, yeah. She's got a brand new album out called Unvarnished.
She's got to be, what, 97?
Or something.
Yeah. You know, some of these old rockers are getting up on stage and they're trying to have a comeback, and they look like they ought to be drinking Geritol between songs.
You know, honestly, Joan Jett has always been an icon for me, but I think she's had just a little bit of plastic surgery done.
A little bit, you say?
Just a little bit.
Does it mean anything that she can just speed dial her doctor for that?
You know, she makes enough money, she could probably do whatever she wants.
Joan Jett, my goodness sakes. Anyhow, good morning. Do we have somebody on for the pledge?
We have a special little guy on for the pledge, and of course, Mr. Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Very good. Well, special person, go ahead and give us the Pledge of Allegiance, would you please, sir?
Good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead and give us the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
What is your name?
Jackson James Goodfell.
Well, you did a phenomenal job. God bless, and please call us and do it again, okay? All right, thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Right now, I've got to remind everybody we're going to go to Michael Rogers' weather in just a moment. But, you know, I've been telling you folks, and I've had a couple of calls here. Well, here isn't going to cut the cake. You've got to call Anthony at Save on Shells if you're looking to protect the back of the pickup bed with a truck bed cover. You bet one of those Save on Shells, you better believe it. 1835 Overland in Burley. Now, I know that you need to protect your tools and groceries, saddles, tack, anything you throw in the back of that pickup bed. We're going to tell you more about Save on Shells at 1835 Overland in just a minute. Right now, here's Michael Rogers' weather.
Good morning, springtime in the Magic Valley of South Central Idaho. Our weather for today is really easy when you do the weather. If you're thinking about either becoming a meteorologist or a forecaster. just ask yourself the question, is the weather that you're having for today, is it going to be the same as it was yesterday? And if there's going to be a change, what is the change? Well, the change is no change from yesterday. The change will take place tomorrow. It will be partly cloudy, 61 for the high. The change tomorrow, it will be partly cloudy, 71 for the high. See how simple that is? Now, the wind's going to be dying down, so basically you're going to have yourself a Magic Valley spring day. That's all there is to it. It's real simple from there. And from that point on, you're going to work your way toward a nice weekend. No rain in the forecast. In fact, there's not going to be any rain in the forecast for at least the next 10 to 11 days. So other than that, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got. Joan Jett is 56 years old. There you have it.
All right. Thank you, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Appreciate it. I knew Michael would know that answer. Hey, by the way, over at Save on Shells, and you'd better get in there today. Don't you throw your fishing rods in the back of that pick-em-up truck and then expect them to be safe and all in good shape. Get yourself a Save on Shell. That's right. They got the new ARE shells, many, many different models in there at Save on Shells, plus a fantastic selection of used shells. They will find what you want. If they don't have it right there on the grounds, they'll get it for you. Installation, parts, and service, these folks are good. Anthony is very dedicated into helping you with installation, parts, and service. Don't forget, Save on Shells, 1835 in Burley. How do I know so much about them? Well, I bought one from Save on Shells. All right, ladies and gentlemen, your calls are appreciated this morning, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you, let me get my little public service announcement over here real quick, that our dear friend, Randy Kidd is going to have a stock dog clinic, and it's going to be on April 26th and 27th, and it's going to be at 510 South Lincoln in Oakley. And for people to go and watch and learn, it's $20 per day to come out and watch, and that will also include dinner on Saturday and lunch on Sunday, but you got to bring your own chair. You can do that. All right, call Randy at 312-2252 for more information. By the way, let's also mention to you about our friends at Valley White Home and Ranch. Oh, my goodness sakes, they are helping you right now. They've got all your hunting and fishing licenses and tags, and they've got a full selection of hunting and fishing gear and clothing. They've got all the goodies over there for you. And don't forget, too, we are right in the middle already of 4-H and getting the animals ready with the best to feed. All your needs are right there. They provide a 10% discount on 4-H feed, haulers, show sticks, everything. Where with Steve, Mandy, and the rest of the crew at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see them today. Something very scary is going on right now. And I want to get into this story a little bit because for those of us that know the Constitution, study the Constitution, and are aware of what the Constitution says and what it doesn't say, I guarantee you this morning I am very, very concerned as to what's happening with our United States Constitution. There is a major proposal right now, and it's being issued by a former Supreme Court Justice, John Paul Stevens, that had spent 34 years on the Supreme Court, to rewrite and completely change the Second Amendment. Now, I want everybody to be very attentive about this. He wants to change and rewrite the Second Amendment and add some words to it. And I'm going to read this the way he wants it right now. He is saying that the right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed when serving in the militia. He wants to add those words, when serving in the militia. And he does not want private ownership of any guns. Now, this is extremely worrisome. And there are some more Supreme Court hearings, like what's going on in New Jersey. And this is another deal to be really concerned about this morning. In New Jersey, the Supreme Court is going to be reviewing a law that says no one can carry a gun in public. Now, think about that. No one can carry a gun in public. Now, in public, define in public for me. What happens if you go to a sports shop to have a gun, shotgun, rifle, whatever, repaired? You are carrying the gun in public and you may be arrested. What about just actual hunting? Actual hunting. Isn't that out in public? If you're seen by other people, you're in public. And would that be the ruination and the stoppage of hunting? Very scary what's going on in New Jersey this morning. And Justice Stevens, with his rewrite to add the words, as I said this morning, would basically be the gun control issue that they're looking for a confiscation and a taking of our personal ownership of guns. I urge everybody to be cognizant of what's going on. I urge everybody to join the NRA. I urge everybody to fight this at the drop of a hat. I urge everybody to be aware of what this former Justice John Paul Stevens is trying to do. And I found this story, and it was on page 3 yesterday in the USA Today. Very, very emotional story. And he goes on and says that he wants to change and rewrite our Constitution just to eliminate that problem with what he calls the Second Amendment. It needs rewording. We need to be very cognizant of this. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Hey, don't forget Denny's Restaurant. 611 Overland in Burley, the number to call in case you want questions, or maybe you want to bring a group in there, 678-8786. Wonderful people at Denny's Restaurant. And don't forget to sign up now. And they've got saving coupons. That's right. And they've got gift cards. You can go in there and buy a gift card for somebody that you want to give to that, hey, have dinner, brunch, breakfast, whatever on us at Denny's Restaurant. Great idea. And on certain days, kids eat free right there at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. And, of course, that's the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Our next lunch bunch will be coming up on, as a matter of fact, next week on the 24th. Don't you miss it. At Denny's. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget, too, our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Oh, my goodness sakes. They've got all your light bulbs. They've got a supply of incandescent light bulbs. Better buy them before they're almost obsolete. They've got all the other outside lighting lamps and CFL bulbs. They've got everything and a great selection of cords, cord ends, and fuses. I'll tell you what, they are your electrical headquarters right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459, where they always provide warm winters and cool summers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
Now look, if they want to start messing around with our Constitution by these so-called Supreme Court justices, I got news for them people. You're not there to make the law. You're supposed to help enforce the law. And if you think you can change it the way you want it, you better think again, buddy, because I have never believed that any justice should be kept in there as long as he's alive. If he's not doing the job, get him out of there.
Al, what I'm worried about is that we have heard Eric Holder, we've heard Obama himself, we've heard people like John Paul Stevens, and it seems to be such a concentrated effort right now in the latter years of Obama's administration, that he said he wanted to have more gun control, he said he wanted to have more higher prices on electricity and energy. He's doing his darndest to do everything he can to change things. And this changing of the Constitution, I hope people are aware as to how serious that is.
Well, like I said, the justice does not have the right to sit there and make laws at the bench. That's supposed to be up to our so-called Congress. So, Mr. Stevens, if that's your name, shut up. Don't be like Roberts. Look what he did. He should have been thrown out of office the day he made that stupid ruling that it's, taxable.
Yeah, on Obamacare. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that kind of stuff we don't need.
I'm really concerned, and I hope everybody that's listening to me will contact their senators and their congressmen and let them know that, hey, we don't want any rewrite of the Constitution. We don't want any change of the Second Amendment. We certainly don't want this administration, through a former Supreme Court justice, to go in and add words. We don't want this at all. Once they start messing with the Constitution, Al, it's all over.
Well, Obama's breaking the rules and the law right now because him and his pen and his damn phone, I'll tell you what, take them both away from him and say, sit in that office, play mumbly peg, and shut the hell up.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much. I appreciate your call. Thanks, buddy. Calls are welcome and appreciated. Are you not concerned about this? You should be scared about this, especially with a former justice siding up to Eric Holder and Obama and absolutely saying that we need to change the words. And he's got a book out. John Paul Stevens has a book out. It's called 6 Amendments, How and Why We Should Change the Constitution. And he's a severe advocate of changing and adding the words when serving in the militia. So in other words, where it says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, and then comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, and he wants when serving in the militia. That would change and absolutely be a open pit for everybody to have their guns confiscated in here, the United States of America. What are your thoughts? Give me a call on that, please. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, I'll be right there. Want to remind you about the Doosan Loaders. Oh, my goodness sakes, they've got a bunch over at Berry Equipment and Rental. And when I say a bunch, they've got everything. Coyote Tractors, Doosan Loaders, all the Walker Mowers. They've got 3 locations to serve you. The new one in Burley at 159 West Highway 30. Absolutely phenomenal. You stop in and see Nick and the rest of the crew today, and they've got 465 Addison and Twin, 2331 South Lincoln in Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Brand new location. They've got it all for you, whether you're looking to buy or rent. They can help you at Berry Equipment and Rental. You stop in and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I believe that the Constitution is the most perfect document since the Bible, and it should not be changed.
Well, all of us think that, but here we go with a former Supreme Court justice that wants to absolutely step on our toes and demand a constitutional amendment. And my good friend Adrian Arp has been on this program many, many times. He has warned us about these constitutional amendment changes. And boy, this one really is going to be something to watch.
Well, what authority does he have to even ask?
Well, yeah, but Keith, what authority has Obama had to basically order and issue these executive orders and basically stomp on the law that Congress has passed or not and ignore the laws that Congress has passed? This man is nothing more than a dictator, and why wouldn't he want to have gun control through a change in the Constitution?
Well, absolutely. I can understand the reasoning there, but it's still the most perfect document printed since the Bible, as far as I'm concerned. I don't see any flaws in it at all.
Oh, I can't argue that. The greatest country in the world, and with the greatest base to help everybody and be a light of freedom and hope for everyone in the world, and now they want to rewrite everything and change the documents. I mean, there's so many things. What are they then going to do? Somebody's going to come out as Supreme Court Justice and say, well, you know, radio programs, talk shows, we need to really prohibit and curb their free speech, because some of those people are pretty incendiary and they go against what the Obama administration really wants to put forth. So we're going to change the First Amendment. Keith, that's also been brought up with the Fairness Doctrine. The Democrats have tried to change that. You give them the door to go in there and change things, they'll take care of everything just their way.
You were right when you said give them the door, but it's a one-way trip out.
I hope so, my friend. Hey, God bless you for your call this morning. I thank you very much, and you have a great day.
One other thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Obama, you know, he wanted to see the time when we pay $8 a gallon for gas.
Yes, he did.
Now, what is going on? Why is gas going up? And this time, they don't even have to they don't even have to even say any justification. They just do it. Well, so by raising the price of gasoline, or price of oil, up. He'll get it up there to the very high price, and then they'll drop it down, and Obama will put that gas tax on, and everybody will be warm and fuzzy.
Well, I just absolutely can't understand why we're seeing these increased prices right now. I mean, it's absolutely insidious as to what's happening with diesel and everything else. And part of my retirement money for me and my lovely wife is going right into the diesel tank. I'm filling up about 2 times a week, and at $4 plus a gallon, it's absolutely breaking the bank. And nobody is more concerned and hateful against what's going on with energy than I am.
Well, it certainly hurts, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
I think his motive is to blame it on the oil companies until it gets high, and then he'll put a moratorium on them and make them drop it down, and then just put the tax on them.
Actually, I'll tell you something that really has got my attention this morning, Keith, is that there was a story out, and I'm trying to find it here real quick. Bear with me, and I'm running late. A story out about global warming and climate change, and some of these nimrods have come out and said it's now or never. Here it is right here. Yesterday we had Guy Pierre on the air, and he's absolutely disputed everything about climate change. But right now, the big shots with the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, are saying that right now, oh my goodness, we're burning up. The emissions that are being burned of oil, gas, and coal are growing much more quicker than they expected and anticipated, and they're saying that they want a complete shutdown of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which is idiotic because plants need it. And they said that if we do nothing, temperatures will continue to rise, and that's a lie because temperatures have gone down or stayed stable for the last 17 years. These people are out to break the bank and have you and I live in caves, Keith. It's getting serious, more serious every day.
Well, have you heard of the Green Mountains back east?
Yes, naturally.
They emit more of that stuff to the atmosphere than most cars.
No, I got to run, and I got a hard break coming up, Keith, but I do appreciate your call as always. Thank you very, very much this morning. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I hate to be rude and rush off, but I got to get this in. Travel Loop Supply at 1050 West, 203 South, Hayburn. Number to call, 438-8730. And what I want you to remember is they've got filters. Boy, have they got filters, and they've got a low price on the filters. You can't afford to go anywhere else. Absolutely call Travel Loop Supply. And by the way, for your air filters, they can clean your air filters. Yes, you can reuse them and save money. Good heavens, Jim McCall will help you. All your tools, all your oils, everything you need right there for the shop. And all your bolts, metric and standard, they've got them all. Travel Loop Supply, they deliver the goods. 438-8730. Also, I want to remind you right now, the Capital Press Ag Minute is brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. Here now, the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly. A proposal that would allow Idaho farmers to be paid to help achieve water quality standards has been shelved for this year, but it could be back in 2015. A bill that would have created a framework in Idaho for water quality pollutant trading to take place passed the Senate 34-1, but was held in the House because of concerns it could create a cap-and-trade system. The bill would not create such a system, says the Idaho Heartland Coalition, a group of farming organizations that is pushing the bill. Instead, it would set up a system that would allow cities and other large pollutant dischargers to pay farmers and ranchers to adopt practices that help them meet federal water quality standards. For the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Brandon Tenner.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
Brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Absolutely, gas furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps. You and your family will enjoy the comfort through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Calls are welcome and appreciated. I tell you something, folks, it's crazy world out there. We've got to be very cognizant of what's going on. I'll take that call in just a minute. Caller, stand by. Don't forget, Maisie Maisie. Penetron by Maisie. Absolutely the best in soil conditioners. 20-year proven record of increasing yield and quality of all Idaho crops. And believe me, it speeds germination. Yes, it does. Reducing crusting, improves stand, stimulates root growth, and microbial activity. And I'm telling you something, folks, you're going to have water savings. And this year, that's going to be very important. The water savings alone will pay for the cost of the product. Penetron treated crops, larger crop yields, better quality. You contact your fertilizer dealer and crop advisor right now today. Don't you dare wait. You call and tell them that you want Penetron by Maisie. Get the original Penetron by Maisie. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, I endorsed that previous advertisement. I tell you, our Constitution's been under attack, and they bring up all this stuff. All of these executive orders, Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution, I'm reading it directly out of the copy of the Constitution. Section 1 of Article 1 of the Constitution says, all legislative power herein granted shall be vested in the Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. Now, all means there's nothing left for the courts or Obama, the executive branch, to make law. So if our elected officials are doing their duty, they should be jumping up and down and passing, getting on top of these executive orders, the war on coal through the EPA, et cetera, et cetera. They're not doing their duty. Even though we've got some good people, they should be really hammering the fact that this is totally unconstitutional in Article 1, Section 1 alone, and plus other things. But the scary part is that they now want to have a constitutional convention from a call of the states. And there's enough states, they claim, that they can actually do that. But unfortunately, or fortunate for us, the conservative groups over the years have reduced the number of states from 34 down to 22 to calling for a balanced budget amendment, reason for a call for a constitutional convention. So, but there's still that scare that they say, well, they won't accept the rescissions, and that's really scary, folks. And this whole amendment process, if they threw it open for another constitutional convention, you can kiss our republic and our freedoms goodbye.
I agree with you. By the way, while I've got you on the phone this morning, Adrian, and I've got to hand something to my wife here. She's got to make a call for me. I want to ask you, how serious do you take this as former Justice John Paul Stevens and what he said? Now, I don't know if you've had a chance to read this newspaper article, but it was in the USA Today yesterday. And his backing, if you will, of the rewriting of the Second Amendment, boy, I'm telling you, it's everything you've always warned us about for years on this program, and he just wants to add the words, and he's got 6 different amendments that he wants to change. I'm really afraid what this Obama administration is going to do.
Well, yeah, but just, he points up, I'm glad he wrote that, because it points up the fact that these liberal, progressive, socialists, whatever you want to call them, the people that are the enemies of this country, want to get their hands on the Constitution by any means that they can. I've been involved in at least about 4 or 5 different campaigns since the 70s for different reasons for getting their hands on the Constitution. And, of course, this is just more fuel on the fire for the liberal progressives to say, we need to make these changes, and the only way they're going to get that done is to have a constitutional convention.
Right.
And they can rewrite the rules. They say, everybody says, well, it can't be a runaway convention. They don't have this. And all the legal scholars have said over and over, and all of them have said you can't limit the agenda. Once you hold a convention, we've only had one before, was to modify the Articles of Confederation.
That's right.
Fortunately, we had wise, God-inspired founding fathers that came up with the Constitution we have today. But do you think we'd have that same kind of a situation today? Hardly. The liberals would control the agenda. They would take away most all of the Bill of Rights. We would have a Soviet-style Constitution where it says you're granted all these rights, but as prescribed by law. Our Constitution says Congress shall make no law abridging the rights of freedom of speech, of the keep and bear arms, et cetera, et cetera. So the difference between us and them is the fact that a dictator can do whatever he wants. And, of course, Congress, getting back to the original deal, all power, folks, is in our Congress, but they're just inept. They just sit back and just kind of, go along to get along. They don't want to take on Obama and all this illegal stuff from these agencies.
Let me ask you this real quick and give me a short answer, because I've got to get onto a commercial break, Adrian. But when you hear stories like this from John Paul Stevens, former Supreme Court Justice, and you hear the movements, undercurrents, if you will, about rewriting and changing the Constitution, on a 1 to 10 scale, how afraid are you today that somebody subversive will get this done?
Well, with the media being in tank for Obama and the liberal progressive agenda, I'd say there's a 50-50 shot at it. And folks, you better get hold of those senators, which I did yesterday, and by email and by phone call, and get hold of your friends in other states to do the same, to not allow any kind of a constitutional convention. Because if it happens, you can kiss this republic goodbye and all the freedoms that we've enjoyed.
I agree.
Along with it.
I got to run, Adrian. Thank you so much for your time and effort on this. Thank you. God bless. Have a great day. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, dude.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, on Thursdays, we have our segment with Vicki Country Gardens, 185 South 600 West of Paul, and the show called Gardening for Idiots, named after me, because I'm not much of a gardener, but I'm learning. And she'll tell you all about how your garden should grow. I'll guarantee you, Vicki's Country Gardens, all your garden needs in one stop. All you have to do is just stop over 185 South 600 West of Paul, 438-5663. Vicki's Country Gardens. Now, tomorrow, Vicki will be on the air at 9:12. Please get your gardening questions all lined up and give us a call. We have about 12-15 minutes right there where we're going to have her on the air. So don't forget, Vicki's Country Gardens on the program tomorrow at 9:12. Give us a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you again about Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Absolutely, whether it's gas furnaces, air conditioners, or a heat pump, you and your family will always enjoy the comfort. And remember the name that's helping you on Lennox. That's Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm going to say this, and some people out in the audience will be all upset about it. Some people will call the station and be all mad because I used a certain word. Some people will probably send me emails and condemn me, but I'm going to do it because I think it's fair, honest, and it's the way it should be. We get warned by the NAACP that they are monitoring media for the use of what they call the N-word. But yet their biggest fundraiser with that N-word, Negro, is the United Negro College Fund. And I was listening and watching a baseball game last night. And the two announcers were talking. Deanne, could you take care of that call for me, please? The two announcers were talking about the Negro League Baseball. This was a big, big league years ago, and had some of the finest athletes ever known to baseball playing in that Negro League. And they have, in the Negro League, a Hall of Fame, I believe, and I'm going to say this with reservation because I think the Hall of Fame for the Negro League Baseball is in Kansas City, I believe, and I'll stand corrected on that if I'm wrong. But why is it that if used in the proper connotation and with respect, that we in the media have to be so careful, almost to the point of being afraid, of using the word Negro? You know, I've said this before, I'm going to say it again to you, and for anybody that's a student out there, honestly, I'm saying it the way it should be said. There are three classes of mankind in the world, and they are Caucasian, Mongoloid, and Negroid. And there is nothing wrong. There is nothing derisive or bad about saying the word Negro in the proper connotation. or Caucasian or Mongoloid. And I'm sick and tired of the threats. I'm sick and tired of everybody saying, well, you said the N-word. You can't use that word. Yes, I can say and use that word, because the ambiguity of Negroes, by getting mad and condemning me for saying that word, when at the same time they keep their hand out for donations from the public for the United Negro College Fund, which is an absolutely respectful, absolutely necessary fund for Negroes to go to college. And are they going to go in to the Negro Baseball League Hall of Fame and change every single word on the wall, every single word on the plaques, every single word on the front of the building or the doors? No. No, they're not. But I'm not going to take any more condemnation from anybody in regards to saying that I should not use that N-word. It's not done in any derogatory connotation. It was done with the utmost respect. Jackie Robinson and many other players that came up through the Negro Baseball League. It's not going to change. I'm not going to change it. And the word will stay on this program. There, that's my final thought. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We have a group of people in this world that, for some reason, they feel that they are all of a sudden raised to a level of criticism and change. And they're trying to be the word police, that we can't say certain things, that certain words no longer can be mentioned, that certain phrases can no longer be said. If you say and do things out of respect, there's no reason why any words should be, unless they're of the vile and filthy nature, there's no reason why any words should ever be tried to be stricken from our language. And I will not stand for on this program anybody saying from now on, you can't use that word, it's offensive. I will use any word I want as long as it is in the right connotation and out of respect. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What do you think about that? Do you agree with me or disagree with me that we have to start looking into ourselves every time we open our mouth for fear that we might say a word that somebody else doesn't like, even though the word was used in the utmost of respect? Give me a call on that. I'd like to hear your thoughts. While I'm waiting for your call, hopefully that's coming in, I want to have a little weather forecast, and the weather is brought to you this hour by Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center at 382 North Overland in Burley, 678-6996. Minor emergencies, well, major care. They can take care of you. They always have. You stop in and see them today. If you've got a little bit of a headache, a break, a sprain, a strain, kind of a cut, a rash, sore throats, everything, they'll take care of it at Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center, 382 North Overland in Burley, 678-6996. Here is Michael Rogers weather.
Hey everyone, Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Not a bad day, nice looking day in the Magic Valley neighborhood. Sunny clouds. The official term from the National Weather Service is called partly cloudy. 61 for the high today. Now it gets better tomorrow because you're going to see a high of 71. But we start a warming trend, so it's going to warm back up into the 70s. So things will be for today comfortable. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. And that's, of course, sponsored this hour by our friends at Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center. Minor emergencies, major care. Call them at 678-6996. All right, let's get some calls in here. Come on, folks, I want to hear your opinions on these things. And if you disagree with me, all the better. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Maybe I'm the one that's wrong, so give me a jingle. While I'm trying to be a little bit more than provocative about certain subjects that they eat on me a little bit, I want to mention this one while I have a chance. Why are we so protective as a nation right now of Muslims? And believe me, here in this area, I think a very conservative area, most people will agree with me that we are being very protective of Muslims. But why? And what I mean to say is this morning, I just heard a news story that New York City police have been told, they've been issued an edict that they have to stop surveillance of Muslims and mosques and possibly some bad doings going on back in New York City because the Muslims are upset and they feel like they're being centered on. Well, I don't care if they feel like they've been centered on because they have caused problems in the past. You know, here's the deal. New York Mayor de Blasio does not want to hurt their feelings. He came right out and said he doesn't want to hurt their feelings. Ladies and gentlemen, 9/11 was a horrific happening. The Boston bombings were a horrific happening. We've had other occasions of horrific happenings. We've had Sharia law imposed by families in this country. Horrific happenings. And de Blasio doesn't want to hurt their feelings? And this goes back, I'm on a tirade here about this morning, and I'm not going to apologize. Obama said Al-Qaeda was on the wane, on the run, and they were smaller and almost non-existent. That was a lie. Our president lied to us because they're bigger and badder than ever. They've got taped report videos and also still photos of group leaders of Al-Qaeda, and they've got their message on tape, and they said they want to eliminate the cross, meaning Christians, meaning this, the great Satan, in their words, the United States of America. They want to eliminate our Christian nation. Now, this does not make any sense to me as to why we're weakening our surveillance. And we've got the mayor of a city that's been a target in the past and is going to probably be a target in the future, Bill de Blasio, the mayor, saying he doesn't want to hurt their feelings. Good Lord. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. What were you talking about before that?
I was talking about the word Negro.
Oh, yeah. Really, that shouldn't offend us, especially when you use it in the term of either black or Negro, because, like you were explaining, that's just a description of the races of the world.
Why, Chris? Chris, answer this for me. Why have we eliminated that word from our language? What was the threat, and why did we stop saying Negro? Why did we go to what I think is offensive, just calling somebody black? To me, that's terrible. I'd hate to have somebody come up to me and say, "Hey, whitey, I don't want to be called by a color."
Yeah. Well, I think that it's this word police kind of thing, and in the United States, we trying to be fair and everything. We've overdone it. We have lost our thick skin. My goodness, I think that we should be proud of who we are. And if somebody calls us the right race, that seems to me like it's better than if they come up with some of these horrible slang words that they use and things like that.
Well,
I think we just make too much of an issue out of it.
Absolutely. And are we going to whitewash our society so much, and the whitewash was not supposed to be a pun, it was just a phrase, Are we going to change our society so much that we're going to eliminate with a great big whiteout pen words like Negro, Negroid? Are we going to... the thing is, there is no such thing as a black American when you think about it. Is there really, Chris? No, here's what I'm saying. African American, and pardon me, I used the wrong phrase. Yeah. There's no such thing as an African American with a hyphenated two names there, because when you think about it, Gary Player and many other people that are white, I'm talking about Pro Golf here and others like Ernie Els, they come from Africa, but they're white. So why isn't there a connotation of, Ernie Els and Gary Player are white Africans? No, this is ridiculous. Why can't we just call people what they are?
Well, it's just making too much of an issue. When did America quit being the melting pot?
There you go.
And how come people who come here for freedom and have really benefited from freedom are all of a sudden wanting to destroy the country by allowing us to segregate them.
I will bet you, and I will bet you a steak dinner, that I will hear from people that are offended by the use of the word Negro on my program. The left will jump over barbed wire fences and yell and scream and tear their hair out and rip their clothing off and demand that I apologize, but I will not.
Well, I think that we've just got to quit making such a big issue of this, and let's all try to be Americans.
Amen.
Let's be good neighbors and take care of each other.
There you go. Chris, I appreciate it. I got another call waiting. Thank you. Yeah. God bless you. Thank you.
Bye.
Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I want you to think real hard and tell me when this president has ever told the truth.
I'm thinking. I had a whole bunch of dead air there for a minute.
He can't tell it.
Well, yeah. You know, this man has changed the fabric of America. He's led everybody down a primrose path the first term of office, thinking that he was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Now, here he is back in office for the second term. How? I don't know. I have no idea. And now he's trying to make everybody believe that we should all be dependent upon major government and change the structure of government, change our Constitution. And I'm actually wondering right now on this program, Dal, when the heck is America going to wake up and absolutely tell this man to take a long walk?
Well, I'm scared to die because then I'll have to vote for him.
Dal, you are the philosopher. If I was ever going to hang a title on you, you are the philosopher. Thank you very much. Well stated this morning. God bless you, man. Thanks. Oh, when I die, I'll have to vote for him. I love that. He's talking about fraud voting, and that was another story that was on television last night that just absolutely took my Cheerios out of the bowl. I sat there and I listened to the Democrats. They are so incensed that somebody's going to have to show who they are before they vote. What is the matter with these people? What is the matter with showing a picture ID when you go to vote and say, hey, I'm proud of who I am? I mean, these are complete dimwits as far as I'm concerned in the Democratic Party. I know I'm shortening up the audience that listens to me. I know I'm creating hate, but I wish one of them had the guts to call me on this program and discuss their idiotic platform and why they're so opposed to common sense. Been a busy morning. Get off the soapbox for a minute and tell everybody, I'll be right with you, caller. Don't forget our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. 7 locations serving you, and serving is the key word because, boy, with this big spring tire sale, you go on in there and they'll help you pick out the right tread design with the tires that'll do the best for your type of driving, whether it's for your car, pickup, SUV, horse trailer, boat trailers, everything. They've got the tires for you. So stop in and check that out. Having a little trouble stopping? Well, they've got the best in brake service. I mean, they've got the best in brake service. You stop in and you'll see what I mean. Shocks and struts, front end alignments, best in batteries. It's all there with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, Twist Family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, I was watching that O'Reilly last night. That is one stupid dude. You know that?
I've said it before.
How in the hell does he think that it's going to take and solve the problem with the voter fraud to have a picture putting on a Social Security card?
Yeah.
Now, Zeb, you know yourself, a Social Security card is issued when you're, first apply for it and all that stuff. That goes through the whole time you're alive.
Yep.
No picture on it.
Yeah.
Your ID card for your driver's license, that's fine. But to put one on a Social Security card, what in the hell is he thinking?
Bill O'Reilly is not the brightest bulb in the fixture. I do not understand how he went from a special reporter on these cheap little afternoon programs to get a major shot on on Fox News as the number one gun. I don't understand it. Bill O'Reilly is not that smart. Bill O'Reilly can't understand common sense. Bill O'Reilly is a hack as far as I'm concerned. No, boy, argue with me on that.
Well, all they have to do is just take and, do some more checking instead of just, I'll go ahead and vote, and then the guy walks across the streets and puts his thing in a slot and votes again. I mean, it can be brought down so they don't do that anymore, but to take and put a picture on Social Security, you change your picture every day.
Al, stop for
no
just...
comment.
No, but wait a minute. I want you to comment. What is the difficulty? Now, you are, and I mean this in all respect, you are one of our great senior citizens. What is so difficult about you exercising your constitutional rights to go vote, and it's a privilege to go way before the election and get an ID so that you're prepared to vote? What is the hassle, Al?
None. I've carried ID since I got out of the service.
That's what my point is. Why can't others have the same philosophy? Why are the Democrats so daggum dim-witted that they got to make a big deal out of it?
Because they're too damn lazy to get off their haunches and go get the job done that they're supposed to do.
I think that's a good way to wrap it up. Thanks, Al.
That's right.
Okay.
Have a good one.
All right, thank you. Oh, by the way, I want to say this again so you understand. My lovely Aunt Miriam, back in Wisconsin, that has been snowed in since last November. She lives about half a mile off a road, up a gravel road in the woods, and hasn't hardly been able to get out of her home and go anywhere this whole winter because of snow. They're expecting another 18 inches of snow today. I just want to say that to the global warming and global climate change alarmists that I think are nothing more than a bag of mixed nuts. Just thought I'd throw that in. We'll be back in about 6 minutes with more, and coming up next hour, my buddy from Colorado, Doug Johnson. Don't you dare go away. Zeb at the Ranch. We'll be back in 6. Oh, my. Here we are, hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch on a Wednesday, April 16th. And doggone it, I just want to say, hello, Gina. How you doing over there? I haven't had a chance to hardly visit with you real quick today. I want to get you involved in the program a little bit later, okay?
You got it.
All righty. Thank you, Sunshine. Zeb at the Ranch is brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
Canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is landing ahead, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Absolutely the truth. Western Waste Services always at your disposal. I absolutely, I really want you to call them right now and talk to them about getting on the route service. We've been on the route service for many years right here at Zeb at the Ranch. They are the best. Always at your disposal. Don't forget they got the dumpsters in many, many sizes. And, of course, now they've also got those Go Minis, those portable storage units. My goodness, those are handy. Call them at 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Just a few minutes, we're going to have a dear, dear friend of mine on the program this morning, Doug Johnson from Colorado. Stand by, don't go away. And we also want to remind you about our friends at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number 2 call, 436-5636. Joel Heward and his family, they really have flexible hours to serve you, and they're there when you need them. That's right, family attention. And they can travel to rural towns and churches. They can go to you to help you with the arrangements. You don't have to go to them. Please give them a call. Number to put right on the refrigerator, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. There's a dear friend of mine in Colorado that I always look forward to having on Wednesdays, and that's Doug Johnson. And Doug writes a blog called the Horse Sense Blog, and he's the author of a brand new book called The Leadership Secret. And good morning, Doug. How you doing?
I'm good, Zeb. How are you this morning?
Not too bad. I got to be honest with you that I don't know if you heard any of the first hour or not. You listen sometimes. Did you or did you not?
No.
Okay, well, shame on you. I want you to send your check, cash, or money order to Zeb Bell in Murtaugh, okay?
Okay, I'll do that.
Doug,
I'll get it out while we're on the air.
You wrote in your Horse Sense blog a story called Racism in America is Alive and Well and Still Coming from the Same Place. You know, Doug, now I'm going to say this as an opening lead to you, but I want you to respond to it very honestly. If you want to criticize me, go ahead. I am absolutely sickened, and I know that I'm going to get letters. I know that I'm going to get emails. I know that I'm going to get threats that I use the word Negro many, many times in the first hour. There are three classes of mankind: Mongoloid, Caucasoid, and Negroid. And use of the word Negro is not offensive. They use, being the Negroes in this country, the United Negro College Fund as one of their biggest fundraisers, and also a very, very famous Negro Baseball League has a Hall of Fame with some of the greatest players ever to play the game in Kansas City. And I'm sick and tired of not being able to use the word Negro in the right connotation, and I, for one, am not going to stop. Now, you can criticize me all you want.
Well, I'm not sure what response you're really looking for, Zeb. I guess my view is, while I agree in principle with what you're saying, I also understand that political correctness rules our society, and so it's not about what's right and wrong anymore. It's about what they deem is acceptable. I don't have a problem with the term. I don't think anybody should, but I understand why there is a problem. It's because this is political. It's not about reality.
Doug, you answered that very succinctly, and I respect that. But I want to say this. I don't like being called whitey, and I find it offensive to call somebody a black. I just don't want to have color connotations. I want to call them Bert, Ernie, Steve, whatever their name is. I'm not looking at a color situation, and I won't define a race as a color.
Well, I agree, although I don't have a problem with the term black. Obviously, I used it throughout my whole blog post I did. Just as we are considered a white race, us, Hispanics and such, various ethnicities are all part of the white race. Negroes are part of the black race. And so to use the term black, I don't think it doesn't really put me out at all. I have a problem with the hyphenated terms, African American, things like that.
Absolutely.
If that's the case, then we're all going to go by wherever our ancestors were from. It's a little ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Or not. But I do agree with you with this, Seb. I think, and as my blog post points out, it's time we start considering each other Americans, just considering each other fellow human beings and look past the racial issues.
I have never, Doug, and I grew up watching on television George Wallace and Selma, Alabama's Problems. I have never since that time, and I dare you to tell me I'm wrong, seen as much division and racial connotations with Eric Holder, Obama, Charlie Rangel, Al Sharpton, the list goes on, Jesse Jackson. There are race baiters out there more so than ever, I think.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And as I point out in the blog post, I know you and I actually talked about the other day when you called me about it, this is not really a surprise. This is part of the progressive plan. They use anything they can to divide people and create dissent and discontent. And race is one of their major things. And this is one of the reasons why when Hillary Clinton was running in 2008 and she was considered the shoo-in for the Democrat nomination, and all of a sudden Barack Obama comes along, one of the reasons they switched horses to Barack Obama is the progressives realized they could use the race card very effectively, and so they switched from her to him because they knew once you call somebody a racist, their credibility with anybody who's listening goes down dramatically. So this is all part of their plan. We have to remember with progressives, it's never about what the issue seems to be. There's always a bigger issue underlying that there's really why they're doing what they're doing. And theirs is always about taking power and taking control.
You said that very well. And as a matter of fact, I really give you kudos. It was kind of ironic that Doug, we talked on the phone, wrote about racism for his Horse Sense blog this past week. And that's exactly the topic I was going to write about this week on my blog, Cow Pies and Coffee Cups. You know, Doug, I've never seen the race card being played by the people like it is today. I mean, Jesse Jackson is making a good living. I mean, he's living, quite frankly, high on the hog by being a race baiter. Look at what happened this past week with Obama hugging Al Sharpton and Holder playing the race card against Louis Gohmert from Texas. You can't turn around today and somebody's going to call you a racist.
No, in fact, my point, when the Republicans cower in fear and won't stand up to this president, and they do that because they're afraid of being called racist, my point to them is you're going to be called a racist anyway, so just stand up. I mean, it makes no sense. They're going to call you that. You don't even have to be talking about a racial issue, and they will call you a racist because if you disagree, they will do anything they can to demonize and vilify you, and racism is the charge they feel is the most powerful. And sadly, to a large number of Americans, it is powerful because a large number of Americans are not well informed. And that's why on my blog post, Zeb, I went into some history to help people understand the history of what's really going on in America, because I think the greatest way to open people's eyes is to show them the truth, and the truth includes the history of what really has gone on in this continent since people first came here from Europe.
Isn't it silly? Isn't it ambiguous to have people like Eric Holder, Attorney General, Barack Hussein Obama, President, and the list goes on, crying race and racism when they have achieved the highest positions in the land?
Well, it is, and the other part of that, the hypocrisy, is when a solid conservative of a minority race, such as, let's say, former Congressman Allen West, rises up, they challenge his racial legitimacy because he does not embrace their political views. And so he is considered less than a complete black, and yet here you have Barack Obama, who is at most 50% black. His mother was white. His father, actually, studies have shown, was multiracial. So that makes him 50% or less black, and yet he embraces his appearance. He embraces that ethnic or that race, and he is seen as a pure black. By 55% of blacks who are interviewed believe that Barack Obama is pure black. Mm-hmm. And so it shows the disconnect here. But once again, it's really not about race. Race is only a tool to use against the right to shut us up and shut us down.
Absolutely. Doug, stand by. 30 seconds. I've got to do a quick ad for my dear friend Colonel Dale Whipple at Whipple's Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley, 678-2505. All your Easter gift giving right there. All the varieties of the Bible, and they've got, of course, all your coloring books, all the things you need for great gift giving for this happy Easter. Absolutely. The Book Plaza has it all. You will never go away empty-handed. And by the way, it's also the home of the National Pioneer Hall of Fame. Whipple's Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Doug, I want to mention something else. I'm kind of on a soapbox about this morning, but I want to get into another topic. Why, and tell me this in your opinion, why are we so protective of Muslims? This morning, I heard the New York City police have been issued an order that they have to stop surveillance of certain Muslim groups and mosques, etc. And CARE, the Council of American and Islamic Relations, is absolutely sitting back smiling because Bill de Blasio, the mayor, now said he doesn't want to hurt the Muslims' feelings. Doug, 911, Boston, other occasions. Why shouldn't we be watching people that want to kill us?
Well, and your example is an excellent one, and it goes further. I mean, just the reports about the anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing yesterday, the mainstream media would not refer to the terrorists who did the attack as being radical Muslims. They referred to them as having radical ideology, which has no meaning whatsoever. And there is a political correctness, once again, comes into play, and there is this attitude that we cannot touch anybody of the Muslim faith. In fact, right now, the U.S. government is funding the promotion of Islam in foreign countries. Even though our Constitution says the government will not promote any religion, they are doing that, and nobody's challenging it.
Why not, Doug? Why not?
That around, and if somebody wants to simply bow their heads silently in prayer, they're in trouble in our country these days. If they're a Christian or a Jew or another faith. So it is a very convoluted situation we have, and this comes back to the old thing we talk about all the time, and that is Americans have to take their government back. I would say, we are seeing an overthrow of our Constitution, a total disregard for it. They want to rewrite our Constitution. I believe right now there's about an 80% chance we will see our Constitution rewritten, not in a form that's good for us. And we have very little time left to fight to take this back.
We're jumping around like a ping pong ball here this morning, but goodness, you just touched on something that I talked about the first hour, and it's driving me insane. John Paul Stevens, retired Supreme Court Justice, has called for a rewrite of the Constitution and a rewrite specifically of the Second Amendment, basically to take away our ownership of guns. Doug, this is insidious, and it's happening, and the American people aren't outraged.
Well, absolutely, and I am a broken record, Zeb. I know that, but the progressive movement, their plan has been to rewrite our Constitution to get rid of what we have as our founding documents that is the rule of law for our country, and they do it under the guise that it's old and it doesn't really mean anything. It's outdated. Those old founding guys didn't really understand how things are today, so we need to change it. And I'm aware of Justice Stevens' new book coming out. I read about it at the end of February, and about this is the kind of thing he's standing for. But really, it's just vocalizing what the left has been pushing now for some time. We can go back generations and see that the left has consistently pushed to make a change to the Constitution, and it's been the standing of the conservatives to keep that from happening. But I'm afraid we're going to see that change here pretty quickly if we don't make major changes in Congress.
Doug, you and I have talked about this before, but I think it's worthy of saying again. I am so concerned. I think I'll even replace the word concerned with scared about the younger generation not understanding the Constitution, not understanding the value system of our forefathers, making sure that we were protected from big government. I mean, I don't think people really care. I don't know if the younger generation, the millennials, really in general understand how insidious the change in the rewrite of the Constitution would be.
No, I don't think they do. They don't understand the value of what our founders put together and the wisdom behind it. And you can pick the topic, it doesn't matter. One I hope to write on in the near future that is another issue I'm not going to get into today. I want to do a little more research on it, but is the issue of the efforts they're making to overthrow the use of the Electoral College and just go to a popular vote. And that Electoral College protects those of us who live out here in the middle of the country, in the less populous areas, from being totally controlled by a few major population centers like New York and L.A. And these efforts, it's such an insidious effort and complicated effort, because it's not just on one front they attack, Zeb. It's everywhere you turn they're attacking, and they've been working and chipping away at this for years. And so going back to what you said, I believe one of the major problems is we do not teach history and the understanding of history well anymore. Our schools don't teach it well. I've always believed it's up to parents to teach their children, and the schools just supplement the education. But history is critical, because when we understand what happened and why it happened, we can then learn from it and avoid those problems in the future.
I haven't counted the pages, but what is the Constitution, and how long is it roughly? About 20 pages we're looking at, 25 pages, whatever?
Probably. Okay,
I haven't really counted all the pages, to be honest with you. But yet we'll sit there and we'll say we haven't got time to read and study the Constitution because, it might take 5 minutes or 10 minutes to read it. But then we'll take and absorb 2,700 frivolous, stupid pages of Obamacare that nobody's ever read.
Well, absolutely. In fact, it's interesting you say it that way, Zeb, because since the Tea Party movement started, what has happened around the country, and maybe in your communities there, people may want to consider this too, is little study groups have popped up in people's homes, and they study the Constitution together. They work their way through it, and they understand what it says. And Americans today are more educated about the Constitution than they have been in a long time, because the Tea Party movement, the conservative movement, has been very effective at getting people to actually open that little Constitution and actually read it and understand what it says. And I think it's a great idea. Families could get together themselves, or groups get together. It could be through your church. It could be just independent operations. Maybe your lunch bunch that you have could get some of the people to go there to decide one evening a week. They'll get them together somewhere and study the Constitution. But the greatest defense for us is understanding what our our system really is, and that comes through study of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and our history. And so I think the good news is there are a lot of people who have been studying it, millions of people have been studying it, but we're a long way from where we need to be, and it needs to be started when people are very young, because as children learn and they're raised with it, it will give them the ability to defend the arguments and the ideas that our founders put in place.
You know, Doug, I'm almost out of time, but last night there was a story on the news, and it was a well-done story. Why in the world, I believe it was on Greta Van Sustren's program, and it was an excellent story because she posed the question, why are we, and I'm not saying you or I, but others, so afraid of the Tea Party? And she went in depth to show them as God-fearing Americans that were very concerned about smaller government, they were very concerned about the runaway spending, and they're very concerned about our Constitution. And then you have other politicians that will come out and condemn them from both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat, and it makes no sense to me. I absolutely will stand up for the Tea Party. I will absolutely condone them, and I dare somebody to tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right, Zeb, and I think, you know, unfortunately, people are often afraid of what they don't understand, what they don't know. And sadly, most Americans get their information from the media, the mainstream media. And the Tea Party has been vilified. You know, here we go again, the progressive movement. They attack, they vilify, they demonize their opponents. And they've done a very good job of this. That's what they did to Sarah Palin.
Yep.
Sarah Palin may be the strongest candidate we've seen for national office in decades. And they successfully demonized her with false stories so that people even believed she had said she could see Russia from her house, when the fact was she didn't say that. That was a comedy skit on Saturday Night Live.
That's right.
But to this day, people believe she actually said that. And so, once again, here we are. We're fighting the truth because people don't understand. The greatest way to learn about the Tea Party for somebody would be to go and spend some time at a Tea Party meeting or two and learn what they're really about. And I think they'd be surprised. These are good, God-fearing Americans who love their country and want to maintain our freedoms, but a lot of people don't know that.
I got to run, but I just wanted to throw one little quick point to you. For the global warming or climate change alarmists out there that are say we're burning up, Doug, they're expecting 18 inches of new snow in your former state of Minnesota and my state of Wisconsin today. I just thought I'd throw that to you.
I tell you, I don't know how they survive with all that heat up there, do you?
Why, my goodness, they must be just feeling like they're in a sauna perpetually 24 hours a day.
Absolutely. Break out the suntan lotion and head for the beach. So,
listen.
Yeah, I don't get it, but, you know, this is once again, we have these people who have bought into this whole mantra, and the sad part is you can't judge any sense of warming or cooling of the earth in a matter of just decades or so. This goes on over long periods of time, and everything we know, that science knows, shows that we're going through just another phase.
Absolutely.
And at this point, the phase actually is cooling, not warming.
Absolutely. Doug, we could go on and on and on and on and on and on, but I want to remind everybody Doug is the author of a new book, The Leadership Secret, and Doug Johnson with the Horse Sense blog. He's absolutely one of my dearest guests and friends on this program. Doug Johnson, take care back in Colorado. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Zeb. You have a great week.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Straight shooter, Doug Johnson, I really appreciate him. Hey, I know some other straight shooters, too. And that's, of course, Cameron and Siemens Insurance with Dean and Todd. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Listen, I know. Well, he's got to talk about life insurance again, Marge. Yes, I am, because it's important. You need to be protected. You need to make sure your family's protected, okay? Health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. Yes, you need to get a hold of Cameron and Siemens Insurance. They're dedicated and responsive to your needs. Call them. Please don't put it off. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really good people. Hey, good people. I know a person that's a good folk, and he wants your vote coming up in the primaries. Vote for Joe Larson for Cassia County Clerk. For the last 4 years, Joe Larson has worked tirelessly for Cassia County as County Clerk. And with nearly 35 years' experience as a businessman in Minnecasia, Joe is a solid advocate for the taxpayer. That's right. Joe advocated for prudent investments in county infrastructure like the Cassia County Justice Center, which was built without incurring any debt because he believes local government should operate frugally and responsibly. I'll tell you what, Cassia County benefits from consistent and experienced leadership on May 20th. Re-elect Joe Larson for Cassia County Clerk. Yup, it's that season again, and we're off and running. Also, ladies and gentlemen, let me get over here to my public service announcement file. I have a little file. Gina, I'm getting organized. And she goes, prove it. Well, I have it right here in my hand. The Minidoka County Republican Meet the Candidate Night will be held on Thursday, May 1st at the Wilson Theater. The meet and greet will begin at 6:30 p.m. with the forum beginning at 7 p.m. And don't forget, that is the Minidoka County Republican Meet the Candidate Night, Thursday, May 1st at the Wilson Theater. Gee, I surprised myself. I had everything all lined out. Don't forget, too, our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. I tell you and tell you daily that they have all the beautiful furniture for the comfort and the beauty of your home. Holy cow, they've got all the sofas. They've got all the love seats. They've got all the chairs. They've got all the recliners. By the way, Deanna and I bought 2 recliners a couple of years ago from Lee's. They're custom fit for me. I got the big dude, and she got one that was just nice and petite. You got to go in and try them on to make sure you get one just for you. And they've got all the carpeting, and they've got all the vinyl flooring, and they've got all the mattresses and the bedroom sets. What are you waiting for? Get in there today to Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. They are waiting right this moment to see you. Okay? Stop in. And quickly, too, Lennox Home Comfort Systems, absolutely. You got to get in there and check them out at Ramsey Heating and Electric. They'll give you the information. They'll help you. Qualified Lennox Home Comfort Systems, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, right through Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. Well, I don't ever have to worry about somebody being ready to go on the radio because I have the #1 engineer and board op and quarterback of the team, Gina, over there. And Gina is our next guest, Mr. Ken Blackwell, ready to go.
Actually, he's not, and Deanne is going to give you a note as to why, but apparently there was a miscommunication on scheduling, and he's on the road, and he cannot be on the show.
This is not good. This is not good at all, because I was really planning on having him come on and talk about a coalition for mortgage security change and taking some of the power away from government. And now, as we sit here, and I'm looking at the clock, and I'm looking at the computer, and I'm looking at my wife going, what are we going to do for 30 minutes? I don't have a guest then. So what I'm going to suggest is that we have an open forum, and everybody that has a complaint or a statement about anything we've talked about so far this morning, give me a jingle at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, I'll ask you, and we'll start the conversation a little bit. You probably, you're a journalist, but I could imagine you probably cringed a little bit last hour when I started saying what I did about Negroes and the N-word.
It honestly, it does not make me cringe. It's the proper word. We've got it's just the proper word. Honestly, it really is.
Why have we got to this point in our society where people think that there's less racism, and yet we have to be so careful about using the proper words, eliminating some words, which I will not do. And if I said the word Negro when I've said this to him personally, and he is not at all offended. Michael Rogers is a Negro man that is one of my best friends. Now, what was derogatory about that statement?
Nothing.
All right. Michael Rogers does a great job as a weatherman. I look at him only and solely for his abilities to perform his tasks on my program, and we are good friends. He has gone out to eat with us. He's been here to eat with me. What difference does it make as to the color when someone does a job and is working for someone else?
It makes no difference. The color of the skin makes absolutely no difference at all.
But why, in this society, have we, and you know this is true, and we've talked about this in the past, and it's getting worse instead of better, we have to, when we all of a sudden start forming our lips and our mouth to say the N-word of Negro, all of a sudden there are those out there that are haters and racists that will call, they'll send emails, they will absolutely say we use the N-word, and they will do everything they can to denigrate us.
Because those are the people that are trying to perpetuate racism. Those are the ones who actually probably are racist.
Yeah. I mean...
You've got a phone call, by the way.
I bet you I do, and I'm welcoming those. Thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
Along with that, it goes, with the Mexican people. You say Mexican, and people think you're racist, and it's not racist. It's where they are. It's who they come from. And it's nothing, to me, it's nothing but respect. A lot of them people are really hard working.
I agree with you.
It's the ones who, people who think that when you say that, you're automatically racist, you hate everybody, It's just the way it is. There is no hate involved.
If I say somebody's a Mexican and they're from Mexico, isn't that the same as saying I'm an American from America?
Well, yeah, but see, they're Hispanic or Latin American is what they want you to say. No, that's not the case.
That's right.
If you're from Brazil, I'm going to call you a Brazilian. If you're from Cuba, you're a Cuban. If you're from America, you're an American. It's just the way it is.
I agree with you.
I'm getting sick and tired of people telling me that I'm a racist. I've been called that before, and I'm not.
Well, it's so silly what these race haters and baiters are trying to put forward today, and I appreciate your call, Riley. You brought up a good point here. I'm going to talk to Gina about that.
Thing, if I can.
Yes, quickly.
In the last 8 years, I have heard more hate speech on the news and coming across the TV and radio than I've ever heard in my entire life.
No, I agree. I totally agree. Absolutely. Riley, thank you. Good point this morning. Thanks much. Gina, this is really true. Now, I want you to correct me because I'm an old fogey and you are younger and probably know the answer to this better than I. But actually, the term Hispanic, wouldn't that be basically centered around possibly coming from Spain?
Hispanic, I think, honestly, I don't know.
I don't either.
Know.
But, I mean, why is there, and Riley was right about that, I mean, some people are offended. You called them a Mexican. Well, gee whiz, now, didn't they come from Mexico City? Didn't they come from Guadalajara? Didn't they come from Tijuana? Well, then, if they live there, and they're here now, there is a country called Mexico, so they must be Mexicans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking up the definition of Hispanic.
Yeah, do that, because I'm not going to shy away from these subjects. I think they should be discussed. And as I said earlier, and I dare somebody to get upset about this, there are 3 races of mankind: Caucasian, Mongoloid, and Negroid. Why do we have to back away from those?
I don't know. Okay, so you are correct. Hispanic means, and this is according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, coming originally from an area where Spanish is spoken, and especially from Latin America, also of or relating to Hispanic people, of or relating to the speech, the people, the culture of Spain or of Spain and Portugal.
I just don't understand, and I'll guarantee you, I promise you a steak dinner also, like I said, first hour. There will be those that will criticize me. They will call on the unknown name, unknown number. They will send emails that absolutely will criticize me for getting into this subject and using certain words. I never said one word this morning that was used in an improper connotation. And I'm fed up with the word police. I'm fed up with the Jesse Jacksons. I'm fed up with the Al Sharptons. And quite frankly, I'm fed up with the Barack Obamas and the Eric Holders trying to make race an issue in this next election, and they're doing that.
Yes, they are. And actually, just out of curiosity's sake, I also from Merriam-Webster, I looked up the word Negro, which is a noun.
Yeah.
And the definition is a member of a race of humankind native to Africa, and classified according to physical features as dark skin pigmentation.
There you go.
That is the actual definition of Negro.
Yeah, but there's a caveat there, my dear Gina. I mentioned on the air one day about, I think you were here with me about a year, 2 years ago, and we were talking about different races, and we were talking about whether a man is a Sioux Indian or whether he's a German here in the United States or whether they are Americans by being Negroes or have they come from another continent. And I mentioned that Barack Hussein Obama is not African American, as they like to call him, because actually with white and black Negro blood from the father and the mother, he is mulatto, and that's not disrespectful. That is what he is.
Exactly. That is just his physical feature. And here's just an interesting note that you might not know. The origin of the word Negro comes from Spanish or Portugal, because that word negro means black, and its first known use was in 1555.
That's right. That's right. And all of these things are written, ladies and gentlemen, in various sources of information that you can read and study yourself. You do not need to be listening to Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton calling you race haters and, of course, being racist if you use that word. There is nothing wrong with it in the English language, and there is nothing wrong with the connotation of saying Negro. And I'll go back to saying what I said first hour. I'm really upset about this. Their biggest fundraiser, Gina, is the United Negro College Fund. Is it not?
It is. Actually, it is.
And some of the greatest athletes, and I mean this in the deepest respect, some of the greatest baseball athletes that ever played the game belong to the former Negro Baseball League.
Amen.
There you go. We have a call?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Zeb, back a couple of months ago, or whatever, the Academy Awards were on. You're familiar with Ellen DeGeneres?
I don't want to be, but yes, I know who she is.
Okay. Well, in this case, she said something that really was quite amazing considering. But she got in front of the crowd, and she was the host of the Academy Awards, and she says, if 12 Years a Slave doesn't win Best Picture, are you all racist? She asked them if they were all racist. And, of course, I don't remember the response because I didn't watch the Academy Awards and I don't care. But the other day, I watched the 12 Years a Slave. And have you seen it?
No, and I won't see it either. I don't find any interest in that movie.
Okay. Well, it was a good show, but one of the things about it is that he was a free man making a living with his family up in Saratoga, New York. He got shanghaied, and he was sold for $1,000 in Georgia. And then he was 12 years on the plantation, and everything that went along with it.
All right, well, yeah, okay, go to your point, Randy, please.
My graphic to say, well, as he was, this movie does not help race relations in America, as you're obviously aware. And but one of the things that they would do was preach to the Negroes on Sunday, and then the rest of the week, the white slave owners were hypocrites, Christian hypocrites who never really believed in what they were preaching. And you see this kind of misrepresentation of Christianity, and now I'm sure that there was people down there that were doing this. And remember this about that, and I know you know, these were Democrats. The slave owners were always Democrats. The Republicans are who released, the slaves.
Yeah, let me go one step further right there where you are, okay? Now that we're into this subject and we're saying it very respectfully this morning, I will say this, that the Negroes that were sold as slaves were sold by other Negroes in Africa. First of all, let's get history right. They were brought to this country as slaves. slaves. Am I an advocate of slavery? Absolutely not, never was. But here's something I want people to consider. The lineage from those slaves all the way to current day, whether they're related to Al Sharpton, whether they're related to Dr. Ben Carson or whomever, look at the advances that were offered to that particular race because they were brought here to America, the greatest land ever in the history of the world. And I will stand behind that statement.
Well, look at it this way. There's no way that you can root for any team across this nation, baseball, football, basketball, and be a racist and still root for your team. There's just no way. There's no way I could be a Boise State fan and love whoever it is. Jay Ajayi, full-blown black guy, okay? I couldn't. The racism is such a fraudulent BS deal, and I hate it. But the people that perpetuate it and the people that believe it have a reason to continue for its existence.
I agree with you. Very well stated, Randy. Thank you very much for your call.
You bet.
Appreciate it. You know, that point there was very well said. I was born and raised absolutely in awe of the Milwaukee Braves baseball team. It was only 35 miles away from my home in southern Wisconsin when the Braves played there before they moved to Atlanta. One of the greatest players, and I mentioned him the other day on this program, Hammerin' Hank Aaron. He was my idol growing up. He personified baseball with a flick of the wrists. Much different than any other big-time home run hitter. Hank Aaron could hit a baseball out of any ballpark. And when I was honored one day to be bat boy for the then Milwaukee Braves, that was the man. That was the man that I wanted to meet and shake his hand and get to know him. Hammerin' Hank Aaron. Caller, I'm going to ask your indulgence and patience. I have to get my weather in real quick. It'll only be less than 60 seconds. Stand by. I want to remind everybody the weather brought to you this hour by Red's Trading Post, 203 Fifth Avenue South in Twin Falls, for all your guns, ammo, and accessories, and the best of knowledge from these folks. They can help you at Red's Trading Post, 203 Fifth Avenue South in Twin Falls. Here, Michael Rogers Weather.
Hey everyone, Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Not a bad day, nice looking day in the Magic Valley neighborhood. Sunny clouds. The official term from the National Weather Service is called partly cloudy. 61 for the high today. Now it gets better tomorrow because you're going to see a high of 71, but we start a warming trend, so it's going to warm back up into the 70s. So things will be for today comfortable. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go. Michael Rogers Weather, brought to you by Red's Trading Post, 203 Fifth Avenue South, Twin Falls. Caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, I've got a couple things here. Your last caller, you guys were talking about the slave deal. Well, a black guy started slavery.
I said that.
I didn't hear you say
Well, Alias, I appreciate your calls, but man, listen closer, because I said it was started by blacks selling blacks into slavery. That was mentioned.
Yeah, I heard that part, but you didn't say it. But one black guy is the one that started it with the lawsuit, because there was no slavery before that lawsuit.
Yeah. And your second point?
Second point is, I have to correct your English. The other day, I've been trying to say this to you for several years now, and you keep telling people that they're chomping at the bit. And an old cowboy like you should know that it's champing at the bit.
Well, I'll tell you what, chomping or champing, if you want to get nitpicky like that, you go right ahead, because I'm going to continue to say chomping at the bit if I want to, because that's the way I feel it should be said, instead of champing at the bit. I've been in the horse business all my life, and I'm not going to be corrected by saying chomping or champing. I'm just going to say that son of a gun's trying to run away with that bit. Thank you very much for your call. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
All right. You know, the nitpick over something, chomping or champing at the bit, believe me, I've got better things to worry about. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, hello?
Yes, talk to me. I'm listening.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I was raised biracial, so I knew how it felt to be the surname is Martinez, and then my mother is Caucasian, so racism is alive and well, but it's a loosely flung term that people don't understand. And when I worked with children at the school, they would tell me that I was racist, and I'd just look at them and say, how could I be racist? I'm a Martinez. And that changed their whole attitude.
Let me ask you. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
It's a loosely flung term that people don't understand, and they say it in haste, and the children learn it, and my grandson, he's mulatto, like you put it, and so, people just don't understand what they're doing when they create all this hatred saying this.
But don't you agree with me that by talking about it just like we are now, and you called in, others have called in, we've had a very honest and professional discussion about this, and there's no hatred, there's no denigrating. That's what needs to be done, and I think we'd have less race problems in America.
Right, and people need to feel comfortable with who they are instead of worrying about what everybody is.
Boy, write that down, send it to me. Amen, God bless you. Thank you for your call. Thank you. Nicely said. Thank you. I'll tell you what, I'm not ever going to back up and be ashamed or embarrassed or whatever or scared to talk about race on this program. Not going to do it. Especially after what happened 5 years ago when the Democrats tried to call me a racist. I'm going to paint them into a corner, back them into a corner anytime they ever try to do that again. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget, let's ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, open Tuesdays through Saturdays, open 9 to 6, and believe me, they've got all the ATVs. Oh my goodness, get on your ATV and get away. Enjoy the great outdoors. Absolutely. And they've got the Can-Am side-by-sides. They've got great deals, rebates, and great financing. Dirt bikes, 0% financing for 5 years. I'm telling you, that's the place where the fun is sold. And you'd better stop in today. Let's ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, 436-4771. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
When I was in the service, I was into boxing, and I had a couple of black friends, and I never even thought about them as being black. I'd go to town with them and go places with them, and it never dawned on me until other people. I went to Juarez with this one guy, and he was a middleweight, pretty rugged guy. I mean, outstandingly good boxer. And we went into this bar in Juarez, and I just sit down there, and I wasn't a Christian at that time, and we were having a good time laughing and talking, and pretty soon he wanted to leave, and I says, well, what's the matter? We just got here not long ago. He's, come on, man, let's go. And I wouldn't go, and he says, those guys don't want me in here. And I looked down the bar, and there's these three guys standing there staring at us. And I yelled down at them. They didn't even know what they were getting into. And I yelled down at them, and I said, you got a problem? And they said, yeah, we don't like him in here. And I said, well, come on down, kick him out. And they said, we might do that. And I said, no, we won't. I said, maybe one of you, or I said, he could handle either two of you, and I can handle the other. I says, but not we.
And I respect you for.
They let him go.
I respect you for saying this, and I respect you for your friendship with this other person, because I never in my life, Dwayne, have judged my friends by the color of their skin. I've been in the rodeo business, man. I know Charlie Sampson, world's champion bull rider. He stayed here at my home. I know Fred Whitfield, world's champion calf roper all around. And Fred and I sit down and visit all the time when we're on the road. Dwayne Hargo, one of the greatest bullfighters ever in the history of the PRCA. And they're all supposedly Negro or black, but who cares? They're my friends. And that's how I judge people.
Well, I had another occasion where I was coming to barracks. I had a room. Next door was a black guy, and he was in this room bragging how he could whip this other black friend of mine. And I laid there and listened to, the rooms they're just petitions. You could hear everything went on. And I heard him saying that he could whip this Scott Lee. And I says, I finally got a feel of it, and I got up and I went in the room there, and I says, I heard you say you could whip Scott Lee. I says, you can't whip Scott Lee. I says, I don't think I could whip Scott Lee, and you can't even whip me. And, man, he flew into me, and there was a room full of black guys. And we went at it, and I gave him a good cleaning. And then later on, I come off flight line, and he had a whole bunch of black guys, and they were going to get me. And so I got Scott Lee and told him, and Scott Lee says, you just let me handle this. Now, here's a case where a black guy went in the room, and man, I could hear him slapping that guy clear in my room, and he says, when I get done, I'm going to start in on you other, and use the N-word. And, boy, they scattered. And this was a case where a white guy was involved, and this black guy stood up.
Absolutely. Dwayne, I got to run, man. I'm out of time. I got to get a commercial in. I appreciate those stories, but there again, don't judge people by their color. Judge by their personality and their character. This would be a lot better world. You did, and I commend you for it. Thank you, sir. God bless. Ladies and gentlemen, our friends at Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center, 382 North Overland in Burley, say, come on in. Give us a call. We're open for you. That's right, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 9, Sundays 1 to 7, and minor emergencies, major care. The doctor will see you now, not in 4 or 5 days. The goals are right there, getting you feel better soon while they save you time and money. They can take care of you. Absolutely. Don't worry about the sprains and the strains and the breaks and the headaches and the sinus infections. Hey, just go there. Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center, 382 North Overland in Burley, 678-6996. This issue of race has just, man, it has just upset me for years. I don't judge people by their color. I judge by their character and their personality. And therefore, I don't want any liberal Dems out there, dim-dems, calling me up or threatening me or anything else with that stupid, silly, asinine charge of racism. Don't even go there ever again. Don't ever go there ever again. Let's see what else have we... Oh, my goodness. You talk about crazy, stupid people. This person that they arrested in Boston, I personally think should be thrown into solitary confinement for at least a year and fed bread and water for being dumb and stupid and absolutely causing a major problem in Boston yesterday. A year ago, horrendous crimes against the Boston Marathon with Muslim terrorists, killing those people, maiming those people at the finish line. Yesterday, on the anniversary of that Boston Marathon, this crazy crackpot left a backpack laying right at the finish line in the street. And you know what his reason was? He wanted to get more exposure for himself. Well, here's the exposure. When he stands before the judge, hopefully he'll get the exposure of the judge bringing down the gavel and saying, for your asinine stupidity and your non-caring attitude, I sentence you to a year in a dungeon with nothing more than food and water, and possibly served to you by U.S. Fish and Game, and that would be Kelton Hatch. What a terrible, horrible thing that would be, to see his face morning and night. Anyway, this man should have been arrested, was arrested, and should be jailed for at least a year. The Fish and Game is coming in. How many did you bring with you?
We're taking you in, and it takes a couple.
You got Doug here.
I told you wanted to see.
We got McGargle here. And who else is here? Somebody else walk out there?
Your wife.
My wife. Oh, okay. And she's supplying water, food, and drink for the Fish and Game because they're not paid enough that they can't stop at McDonald's? What's the matter with you guys? They're going to be here next hour. McGargle, get out of the way of my clock, for heaven's sakes. Your stomach's in the way now. There you go. We're going to have the Fish and Game on next hour. I'm poking fun at these guys, but they're really good people. And then Deanne goes and gets Easter candy and gives both of them chocolate bunnies. That's what they needed. Here we have two guys that are overfed, overweight, and look like they're candidates for Nutrisystems, and she's helping them with candy, for heaven's sakes. Gina, I'm going to send it back over to you. I've got a visit with these guys, so put on maybe a Toby Keith record. Get us out of here with a good American spirit, and we will be back in about 6 minutes with more more Zeb at the Ranch. Don't go away. Oh my, sitting here, Zeb at the Ranch, hour number 3. And, of course, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with our dear friends as advertisers, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. And, of course, our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service, call 734-6969. Ladies and gentlemen, just like I was given a gift of bookends to hold up the books on my bookshelf, we have 2 bookends from the fishing game. Not 1, but 2. We have with us, of course, the world-famous Kelton Hatch, and then also synonymous with fishing and anything that goes on in the water, Doug McGargle. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
That was so enthusiastic. It was like 2 guys making the last walk down to the electric chamber. Here we go. Hatch, what are you doing?
You know, as little as possible.
Things haven't changed.
No,
Okay.
no. Things are great right now. I mean, it's fun. We're really busy. We're active. Just drove by your house and honked. Did you hear me honk the other morning at about 5?
Was that you?
I guess I got to push the horn.
Was that you?
No, I actually took the Foothills Road. I was thinking of driving by your place and honking, but I said, I'll take Foothills. But no, we've been running out checking.
At 5 o'clock's fine because I'm up at 4.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I get up early. And I'll tell you what, just to prove it, I'll call you tomorrow to let you know I'm up.
That's fine.
Okay. Will you be up?
I will.
I doubt it.
No, usually.
Okay.
About 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Now, you have kind of shifted the weight of the program over to Doug this time, haven't you?
Well, it's kind of like, I put Doug's stuff at the top of the program, and then I've got all the stuff that we need to talk about for just a second, but at the end, we can run through it quick.
So basically, we are going to inspire and instill a feeling of wanting to get out into nature this month and pick up your fishing rod, whether it's a casting reel or a spinning reel, and go out and fish.
Yeah, you bet. And the big thing I would like is everybody out there that has a fishing question.
Yeah.
Call in today. I can answer the real simple ones. We got the dude here that makes the rules, and he checks the fisheries, and he manages them all in the Magic Valley. If anybody knows what's going on in the waters around here, it's him. So
why don't you introduce him? Why don't you go ahead and give him a real professional introduction? Something that has a little class.
That was a pretty heavy setup. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. Doug McGargle.
Doug is
regional fisheries manager, 15 years.
He is, and he is the one, by the way, that has since 2007 offered to take me fishing. 7 years. Haven't seen the dude in the driveway yet.
I don't think he's bought a fishing license, though, in that long.
Oh, yeah, I have.
Okay.
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to be legal to go to Rockies.
I don't think you're checking your mail, Zeb, because I have sent invites.
Really?
No.
The last time I was with you was one of the most interesting days I ever spent in my life when you, and explain that to the general public, but how you basically clean out a stream of fish with that electricity. That was amazing to me.
Yeah, Zeb came out with us up to Big Cottonwood Creek, and our objective was to try to save some of those fish that were behind an irrigation dam that weren't going to make it through the season, and we used a backpack electrofishing unit. And essentially what that does is it attract the fish towards the power. It doesn't electrocute them like people think. And we're able to capture them alive and move them, and we transplanted them back.
I was absolutely astounded because they were standing in water that in some cases wasn't more than maybe a foot deep. And I thought I could see everything that was in the bottom of the stream, if you will, and then all of a sudden you started pulling out 14, 15-inch trout.
Yeah.
And which was amazing to me. But now what about the guy that wears that backpack and everything? Is there a danger for him being in the water holding onto that thing?
Not really. Most people look at it.
That was you, by the way.
Yeah, most people look at it and say electricity, water, probably not a good mix.
Yeah.
But the circuit is set up so that we're not the way to complete the circuit. The electricity goes from the electrode backed into the unit. So we're kind of around it, but not part of it.
And basically what you're doing with that paraphernalia is stunning them for just a few minutes, basically to catch them, and then they're fine, and replace them in another part of the stream.
Actually, what we're doing is forcing the fish to swim. So it's kind of a convulsion. We're not stunning the fish. When the electricity passes through them, it makes their muscles contract, and it's a wavelength that goes through the fish, and it forces them to swim up towards the source.
I see. Up towards the source.
It's a way we can pull fish out of cover. and be much more effective.
My goodness.
One thing I was going to tell you, those a few fisheries guys have been hit by the electricity from that, and it cracks a few teeth, and because their jaws clamp down so hard. So yeah, there is some danger involved.
So you guys get hazardous duty pay.
Most of us have
No.
been.
Doug, hold that a little closer, would you please?
Most of us have had a few close encounters with electricity, but it's usually when we get too comfortable.
When you get too comfortable, that ain't going to happen. Learn all that stuff. Now, what about Lake Walcott? I understand that you stocked it last year. What's the story on Lake Walcott?
Yeah, I kind of want to use the Paul Harvey. And now for the rest of the story.
There you go.
There's been a few questions about whether or not we stocked Lake Walcott last year. And we did stock Lake Walcott. Essentially, we went to stock at the boat ramp, our normal location, but BOR had drawn down the reservoir and we couldn't get access at the boat ramp. And then we moved up to Gifford Springs, and because of the drawdown, the water conditions were not suitable. So then we had to take the hatchery truck further up, eventually at Massacre Rocks boat ramp, and that's where the fish went in.
I see.
We've already heard reports from anglers that they've seen those fish show up early in the spring, so they did trickle down. It's not our preferred stock location for Lake Walcott, but it was the circumstances of the time to get those fish stocked.
Okay.
How
Now,
many did you put in?
how many did you put in? That was my question. How many did you put in?
If you want to look into stocking records, you have to look at the Snake River in Region 5, because technically we crossed over a boundary. And we put in, I think it was approximately 38,000.
Doug, can I ask a dumb question? Are these fish that you stocked, are they at all marked in any way that anglers, if they catch the fish, they'll know that they are quote-unquote a stocked fish?
Well, not necessarily. We do mark fish when we're trying to get an idea how anglers are harvesting our outplant. They'll usually have a tag in them.
I see.
Most likely you can tell it's a hatchery stock fish if you look at the fins.
I see.
If they're bent and kind of molded a little bit, that's a real easy way to tell them.
Like take a picture of Kelton and you'll understand what it looks like?
Yeah, like all of us over 40.
Yeah. Now, sturgeon stocking. This is fascinating to me. When I look down the list that Kelton gave me, which, by the way, was a very professional list, certainly you must have had something to do with it, Doug, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know it's in the right direction.
Sturgeon stocking. That is amazing. Now, these fish, do we really know how big these puppies are in the water? I mean, there's some big sturgeon in that Snake River, aren't there?
Yeah, there are. And Idaho Power, as part of their mitigation obligations for running hydroelectric facilities, does a lot of surveys through there, and they get their hands on a lot of the sturgeon as part of that operation.
Really?
And so we've seen fish 8 feet plus, not too many over 9 foot in this region.
What is the biggest sturgeon that has ever been taken out of the Snake?
I don't know. It must have been at least 45 feet.
Are you kidding?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll never go near the water again. Okay.
You see historic photos of where the old-time anglers had a sturgeon hanging over a pony, and the tail's on one side and its head's dragging the ground on the other. He was probably pushing 10 feet, 11 feet.
Wow.
We don't see him that big anymore, though.
How do you do this, and why do you have to stock the sturgeon?
We're stocking sturgeon mainly for fishing opportunity. The population trends in South Idaho have been stable or increasing in some reaches, but we want to maintain enough numbers out there for anglers over time that that opportunity doesn't disappear.
Okay, now I'm not familiar with the fishing rules and regulations of the sturgeon. When I do this commercial, can we come back and talk about that quickly?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Don't forget a great place to go eat, and by the way, if Kelton's going to buy today, go to Burley and be sure and go to 139 West Main, the Chadwick Sports Grill. What a great place. And today they've got sweet and sour meatballs over steamed rice with soup or salad. It's going to be fantastic. The food's always great. Menu is fantabulous. The people are wonderful. You're going to love the environment. If you love sports and all the memorabilia, it's all there at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see them today. What about the fishing for sturgeon? What's the limit on sturgeon?
It's all catch and release in the state of Idaho.
Oh, you can't keep
There's no harvest allowed in Idaho.
I see. Has it always been that way?
For a long time. No, it hasn't all been that way. I'm not sure when we converted to catch and release, but probably 20 years ago.
Now, I would imagine, and please help me on this, I've never caught one, never tried to catch one.
It would be fun to watch you catch one.
Why?
Well, because you know, we caught a 6-footer not too long ago, and it took us almost 35 minutes to get it in.
That was my
question. It'd be fun to watch you just, you know, sweating with the old.
No, I'll tell you something, Kelton. You're not making light of it, because I was going to ask. Now, when you catch one of these, I would imagine they're not really a fighting fish, but they just kind of lay on the bottom, or what are they?
You imagine wrong. Those fish will jump out of the water.
Whoa!
They will peel out your drag. And
you're kidding me.
The average time to get a big sturgeon in is about a half hour, like Kelton was saying. And
they will jump out of the water?
They tail walk.
Like a northern pike.
Well, a big northern pike, a 6 to 9 foot northern pike.
I see a 6-footer or a 9-footer jumping out of the water. You ain't going to worry about me reeling them in. I'm leaving the boat and walking on the water to shore. That's a big fish.
It's a real neat opportunity in this area to try to focus on some of those big sturgeon.
Do a lot of people catch them?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Really?
The people that are into sturgeon fishing and know where to go regularly do it, and they're addicted. Once you go and you catch your large fish, next stop is to the store to get more tackle and bigger rods.
Question. How many pound test line do you have to use if you are an avid sturgeon fisherman?
Most people will be looking at about 40 to 60 pound test.
In other words, a steel cable.
It's a pretty big rod.
What kind of a lure?
Most of the time people are bait fishing.
With worms?
No, they'll use marks, but people catch them with worms. There's a guy that fishes from a pontoon boat, and that's what he uses.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I've never done. Have you done that quite a bit?
Not with worms.
I see. What do you use?
I use trout mortality.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness sakes.
Dead trout.
All right. Well, anything more about the sturgeon stocking?
Well, part of it is that the neat part of this program is that we do use and stock out wild brood stock. So fish are caught from the Snake River. CSI's got a unique hatchery program where they actually spawn those fish and raise them up, and then we use basically wild stock fish back in.
How big are the sturgeon when you put them in the river? How big do you want them to be?
Well, this year they're about 14 to 16 inches.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's about a year old.
Do they have a predator system against them in the river?
Not much. Once they hit the water at 16 inches, there's not much that will chase them. We do hear reports of river otter working them over pretty good sometimes.
Really? And then what's the rate of growth? They live to be quite old, don't they?
Yeah, it's not unusual to find 40 to 60-year-old sturgeon.
How do you know how old a sturgeon is? What's the basis of telling?
Well, it comes.
You just go up and ask, hey, how old are you, old timer, or what do you do?
Well, like you said, if they are worn down like the rest of us at age 40, then no, I'm just kidding. There's bony structures. We can tell from bony structures. We cut them open and you count the rings, and it's similar to a tree ring.
You're serious?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
You can do that from a little piece of their pectoral fin, the bone in the front, and sometimes from a scoot, which is a bony plate on the side.
Now, if they pass away and die in the river, do they float up to the surface, or do they just stay on the bottom? I've never seen or heard of a dead sturgeon floating down the river.
You know, a lot of them might go unseen and never notice, but because of the impoundments in the system, those fish are
The what?
The dams, the impoundments.
I see.
Those have trash racks, and it's not uncommon for a dead sturgeon to get caught on that and then called in and reported as we go in and investigate to find out what killed it.
This is fascinating to me. I want to become your best friend.
You are.
I doubt if it will happen, though, because you haven't taken me fishing for 7 years.
Yeah. I was going to tell you one thing on these, Zeb. One of our issues with them, and one of the reasons you have mortality on sturgeon, is because of hooking or tethering.
What does that mean, tethering?
When you're fishing for them, we like to have, Doug has a best methods. You really ought to go through the best methods. You're more familiar with them on the fishing with the circle hooks and not using stainless steel, and he'll explain that.
And my understanding that possibly some people might be dragging the bottom and actually snag the fish. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's if you've got a weight and your hook's tied directly to the weight and it breaks off and that weight gets stuck in the rocks and the hook's in the fish's mouth, it tethers it to the bottom. But there's some methods Doug's going to talk about right here that tells you the best method so that you don't hurt or injure sturgeon.
I tell you what, before you do that, Doug, let's take a call. And caller, go ahead with your question, please. Go ahead, caller. Can't wait.
Yes, sir. I would like the gentleman to address the pelican problem. I think we've really got a serious problem, and it doesn't seem like there's anything can be done about it. And I'd be interested in hearing that. I'll hang up and let you answer.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Pelicans, are they a big problem around here?
We do know that the pelicans are taking advantage of hatchery stock trout, and we have been doing a lot of evaluation to try to quantify just what the issue is. Essentially, pelicans are competing with our anglers for hatchery stock fish, particularly in fisheries that are real close to the Snake River. Examples in this area might be Emerald Lake, Connor Pond, Freedom Park Pond. We've seen up to 100% of our outplant go into pelicans that are roosting on Lake Walcott. They are federally protected species, and what we're trying to do is build a case and bring information to the feds seeking alternative methods and some management goals that would both preserve the pelican and also be reasonable as far as impacts on hatchery product, as well as conflicts we have in the east side of the state where native species that are potentially listed are being impacted by the pelicans.
Mm-hmm. So they're not the nicest bird in the world to have around fishing.
Well, they're real resourceful. They're around here in large numbers. They learn quickly, and they take advantage of easy prey. And for a hatchery product, we're essentially making that so easily and so available to them, they're taking advantage of it. What we're trying to look at is what is the magic balance? And the question asked, what are we doing about it? We're trying to build a case. We're working with U.S. Fish and Wildlife to try to identify and quantify the issues so that we can move forward on management discussions.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you very much. Now, I want to get right through this and get to the next. We don't want to overshadow Kelton at all. Let's talk about reservoir fisheries. Sturgeon catching. Oh, you were going to mention that about what he said, tethering.
Yeah, well, another word for that people have heard is called a ghost set. Typically, the way to explain it is most people fish using a three-way swivel. The hook is tied to one swivel, and then the lead weight was tied to the other hole in the circle, and then the other line goes back to the rod. If people break off, 9 times out of 10, it's because the lead is snagged on the bottom, and when they break loose, the line back to the fishing rod comes loose, but what remains on the bottom is a anchored baited hook.
Yeah.
And intuitively, it doesn't seem like it's a good idea to have a baited, tethered hook in the bottom where a sturgeon could take it and perhaps not be able to get freed.
Absolutely.
We don't have any information that quantifies impacts of ghost sets to sturgeon. But what we did is make an intuitive modification requiring people to have a sliding lead line with a lighter test line. So if, in fact, they snagged by the lead, it would break off and the baited hook would come back in. Or if they broke the line from the rod back to the bait, that it would slide off.
Okay. Now, is the sturgeon predominantly just lays on the bottom? Is that where they are? Bottom feeders, basically? Is that right?
Yeah, they're built to feed on the bottom, but they will come up to the surface. I mean, they have a mouth on the bottom, and so when they feed, it looks like a suction cup. But they will feed on fish. They'll feed on clams, crawfish.
But they do come up to the top on occasion.
Yeah, you'll see them on occasion. They call it a porpoise. Their head will go back and forth and side to side, and people will report seeing them seasonally. We're not exactly sure what they're doing, but one of the theory is that they're actually taking advantage of some sort of abundant forage near the surface.
Really? Mm-hmm. Now, are these fish that like to stay like in schools of other sturgeon, or are they predominantly just kind of individual fish?
They're not schooling by nature, but what they do tend to do is concentrate in the best habitat. So,
what is the best habitat for them?
Most of the time you're going to find sturgeon using deep holes where velocities have been basically reduced. Like in the Snake River, they're going to avoid the extreme high velocities because it wears them out.
When you say velocity, what are you referring to?
Velocity is the speed the water is moving.
I see. So they wouldn't be close to like Shoshone Falls or anything like that?
Well, they could be. We don't find too many sturgeon in that reach, even though we've stocked in that. Those fish drop down. But in Pillar Falls, the hole that's there is about 70 feet deep. Sturgeon will be there in large numbers.
Really?
Because a lot of food items settle out in those holes as well. So it might be moving down the river, it hits that slow water and drops down, and sturgeon will definitely take advantage of dead and dying.
You know your fish. I don't care what Kelton ever says in the future. You know your fish. I'm impressed. What about reservoir fisheries, drought, water availability, and fishing conditions? Has the drought really affected fishing in this area?
Yeah, as you know, in this area, most of our fisheries take advantage of irrigation impoundments. As most of your listeners know, we dodged one big bullet this winter time when we got this late spring. But a lot of people are wanting to know, what are the fisheries going to be like? Are you stocking them? As it stands now, we haven't had too many modifications in our stocking except for up in the Fairfield area. That drainage saw hardly any water, and we're not going to see Little Camas Reservoir achieve much more than half full pool.
Wow.
And we're not going to stock it, and we're going to divert those fish elsewhere.
I see.
Access late season is probably going to get difficult in some of these irrigation impoundments. But fishing is going to be pretty good. People shouldn't avoid the reservoir fisheries. Yes. And right now is the good time to get out.
Really? Okay. And before we go to a hard break at the bottom of the hour, general fishing updates. Now, what does that mean?
Well, I just wanted to let people know that the drought is having an influence. We are going to see some decreased stream flows, and that can be good or bad for some people. Fish tend to get concentrated. For fly fishermen, they can do some sight fishing where they can see the fish and fish at them. And also it might get a little bit shallow and kind of warm in some locations. So essentially I'm saying use those streams early. And the reservoir should recharge, but I don't expect to see a lot of full reservoirs.
Doug, what about people like to fish in different dimensions, whether it's lake fishing, river fishing, or whether it's like going up south on Rock Creek, etc. What about fishing in streams like that this summer? A pretty limited water supply for trout?
It's probably going to get pretty low in a lot of the drainages, and it depends on the type of fishing you want to do, but I would say that hit it early season. Don't wait till July and August.
Okay, we got a caller with a quick question before we go to a break. Caller, go ahead, please, quickly.
Yeah, are there any more of those 60, 80-foot sturgeons around anymore?
Go ahead.
I have a promise to get Zeb on that one.
Yeah, and I'll be the first one out of the boat, out of the water, up on the Prime Bridge looking down if I see an 80-footer. Thank you. Hey, by the way, I want to remind everybody about Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They handle qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will always enjoy the comfort. Stop at Ramsey's, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Ramsey Heating and Electric. We're going to take a little break right now and send it back over to our main studios, and then we'll be back in 3 minutes with more of the Idaho Fishing Game.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much and welcome back. Hey, by the way, Ed's Office Products Incorporated, 1340 Overland in Burley. Gloria said, I've had it. I'm closing the doors. I'm going on vacation. After 40 years, she's decided that she's going to close the doors. Everything is 25% off. Everything. Beautiful solid oak desk and all the office supplies, all the fixtures, everything. You better get in there. Merchandise won't last long. Ed's Office Products Incorporated, 1340 Overland in Burley. Gloria says, I'm going on vacation. You better stop in today at Ed's Office Products Incorporated. You know, I was just thinking that this conversation that we've had this morning, even though some of us are bored and yawning, I thought this would be a good teaching class for a lot of people that are asking questions about fishing and everything. Doug, this is a good program. Would you mind just quickly, before we get over to Kelton on sage grouse counts, explain, I asked you a question about the adaptation of fish going from freshwater to saltwater, and because like the Columbia running into the Pacific Ocean and etc., are there a lot of fish that can co-join the environment of both saltwater and freshwater?
There are a lot of fish that can move back and forth between saltwater or use the mixing zone where freshwater and saltwater isn't all fresh or salt. The basic thing the fish needs to be able to accommodate, it kind of, I'm trying to think the best comparison. When you cure meat with salt and you bury a piece of meat in salt, it draws moisture in or out of the meat into the salt. Moisture wants to move from the concentration of highest salt to or from lowest, from I'm getting mixed up here. If there's more salt inside the fish, then the water wants to go inside the fish to dilute it, to equalize the concentration. So if a fish is in salt water, then more water is trying to leave the fish and go out into the ocean, and vice versa. If they're in fresh water, then water's constantly trying to get into the fish.
Okay, now let me ask you another dumb question, and we'll take this call. What about, like, catfish in the Mississippi River going down past New Orleans and getting into the Gulf? They must be able to adapt, and are all catfish able to do this? And does it stimulate the growth, and that's why we hear so much about possibly these big channel cats coming back up north?
The physical act of moving from fresh water to salt water doesn't make them grow more, but what the ocean provides is much larger forage availability, and so they tend to feed better and get more calories and grow better.
So basically it's a myth that freshwater fish cannot survive in salt water.
That is true.
Okay, thank you.
Not every freshwater fish can make the transition. It's through evolution.
I see. Interesting. Caller, go ahead. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Do you plan on doing any stalking in the Oakley Reservoir?
The question is, are we going to stock Oakley Reservoir? And the answer is yes. We're going to be moving forward. She is pretty low coming in, so we might be looking at a reduced out plant.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for your call. I've got to get to this guy before he starts ranting and raving and throwing a tantrum. Kelton, what about sage grouse counts?
I'm thoroughly enjoying this.
I am too.
And I just wanted to reiterate before I get going on this other stuff, is if you have fisheries questions, call today, because we do have the expert here. And so,
now, wait a minute. Let's emphasize that a little bit. Call today. Are you talking about the Fish and Game office also?
Well, no, just call here.
Call here the show on fishing questions, like that gentleman just did, or they can call 324-4359
and ask for Doug McGargle.
Doug, would you do me a favor and maybe consider? I know it's tough, and I know it's not the easiest thing to do, but would you travel with him another time and come back over here and we'll do this again? Mm-hmm. Excellent program. Caller, go ahead with your question. Thank you.
Yeah, what is Doug's phone number?
The office number is 324-4359.
And we also have one other fishery biologist in the department, Scott Stanton. He can field questions as well.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sage grouse counts, Kelton. Let's get to that.
We're sitting at about 450 leks that we're counting this year. Things are looking pretty good from the stuff that we've been looking at. I've been going up Middle Mountain over by Oakley, and it's been a pretty enjoyable trip in the morning, seeing lots of birds up in that country. Actually took Senator Hyder up with me the other day, and he got to see about 350, 400 head of deer. Saw some pronghorn, saw a couple elk, and we saw a couple leks with about 26, 27 males on it. And so, it was a pretty good day.
I'll bet you that Lee Hyder was smiling like a Cheshire cat.
He was.
I'll bet he was. I know him very well.
I've just never seen this many animals before in my life. It's pretty crazy, but and it was a good day with him. And so we've got a lot of efforts being put towards monitoring sage grouse numbers. Governor Otter had asked us to increase it. We haven't really increased in the Magic Valley because we'd been doing so many more than a lot of the other regions already. And so, but we've got about 70 volunteers out there helping us this year.
Now, what about this next category? General turkey and bear opened yesterday. So the bear hunts open?
Bear hunts. The general bear hunts and the turkey hunts open on tax day. And so April 15th.
And what are the regions for that?
Well, for most of your bear hunting and your turkey hunting is going to be up north. There is some over by eastern Idaho that are general turkey and general bear units, but getting into bears isn't too difficult just up there by Sun Valley. Just up by Fairfield in that area, we have a high bear harvest in that country, but all the way up into the Panhandle for your turkey hunting from basically Cambridge all the way up to the Panhandle.
Okay.
And so there's lots of turkey opportunities. Got lots of folks that are headed out this weekend, and it's beautiful weather. Get out and have some fun this spring.
What about turkey turkey hunts up here in the South Hills,
we do. We have controlled turkey hunts, and you have to have drawn a permit.
Like
for
up
those.
Cottonwood?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But we have had some hunters that have been having some tremendous success. A little girl brought in a picture of a tom that she had harvested the other day, had a 10-inch beard on it.
Wow.
Big old boy.
Wow.
And so it was pretty cool to see that. And so there are some turkeys up there. They did a riparian zone planting project right by Cottonwood, trying to reestablish some of those cottonwoods and stuff down on down on the bottom of the by the creek to give those birds some roosting spots, and so hopefully we start seeing a turnaround those overall turkey populations.
Application time for hunts. So you're trying to jog my memory. I better get that taken care of.
Yeah, well, what's going on right now till the end of the month? You can put in for moose, goat, or bighorn sheep. It's trophy applications right now.
For the end of April.
Until the end of April. Starting May 1, you can start applying for deer, elk, antelope, and pronghorn.
Okay.
And that goes until June 5th. There's quite a bit I was going to talk about on here. Our regulations are at the printer. We are getting them back to headquarters this week. We should have them distributed across the state the week of the 21st. So next week, starting Monday, we should have them out. They should be coming out to the vendors sometime that week, so you can start looking. One of the biggest questions I've been getting on this is, can my 10 and 11-year-old hunt this year? Yes, they can. That was changed in the legislature this year. However, it doesn't become signed into law until July 1st. So that means your 10 and 11-year-old cannot apply for the first controlled hunt this year. They'll either have to hunt general, or there's some leftover tags, and they will be able to apply for a controlled tag on the second controlled hunt. But 10 and 11-year-olds will be able to hunt big game this year. That was changed.
All right. Anything else on the applications?
Well, the biggest thing is get your hunter education done. We're just getting inundated right now with people trying to get their hunter ed. And the saddest thing in the world is when it comes June, 1st, and they say, I need a hunter ed class so that I can apply for controlled hunt tags, and there's only 4 days left for applications, and they can't get the class done. So get it done now.
I was going to ask you a question about that. The other day, a gentleman called me, and he said, I thought I had heard that even though we've hunted for 30 years in the state of Idaho, it was going to become mandatory that all hunters had to have a hunter's ed course.
Just for you, Zeb.
I see. But no, it was asked to me, and I didn't know the answer.
No, that's a good question. No, that isn't. That isn't the case. If you want to hunt Colorado and some other states around here, yes,
you do have to have it.
You have to.
Okay.
But for the state of Idaho, if you're old like us, you don't have to.
54, Unit 54 Archery Unlimited Control Hunt. When?
I cannot get this out on the air enough. So if you can help me with this, Zeb. Unit 54, the South Hills down here, was changed to an unlimited archery hunt this year. That is a huge change because we've been having close to 900 bow hunters on a general hunt down there.
900?
Over 900 bow hunters. It's increased from 300 to 900 in the last 10 years. So it became an unlimited controlled. What that means is if you want to bow hunt Unit 54 this year, you have to apply for it from that May 1st to June 5th deadline. If you do not apply for it the first go-around, you will not be able to hunt Unit 54 this year.
Okay.
And the tough part is, some people have been using that. They bow hunt down there, and then they'll run over to Unit 56 or, 48 or 49 or 43 or one of the general units and then hunt with their rifle. This will also limit them to only hunting for 30 days this fall in Unit 54.
Let me ask you a dumb question. How much is too much? When you're looking at 900, sooner or later you're going to have to cut off on the numbers, aren't you?
Well, and that's why this become an unlimited controlled.
Yeah.
And what unlimited controlled means is everybody that applies for it will be able to draw the tag and hunt. We're anticipating, though, the number of hunters to drop to around 300 to 350. It was more of an issue of overcrowding down there in a lot of ways, and so and there's always that concern of wounding loss and things like that with that many extra archers out there, and so hopefully this makes it a better hunt. I know there's a lot of people that are upset about this because they liked hunting at early season.
Now,
with
what
their
are the
bows.
seasons on this, by the way?
That opens August 31st to September 30th, and then you go to your October rifle hunts down there that open October 5th, and so it's your typical archery hunt.
Okay, 900.
Yeah, over 900.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah, and so
that's like one archery hunter for every tree.
Well, and we're looking at the same thing in Unit 55. We just failed to scope that this year, and so we'll probably be looking at that at 55 a lot closer next year because we've gone from 200 bow hunters down there to over 850 in the same amount of time, and some of these areas are just being loved to death almost.
Yeah, let me ask, and Doug, you took your headset off too soon because I'm not done with you. I want both of you to respond to this.
Oh, his radio's dead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'll get a new battery in that thing. Are we seeing an increase? I know a couple of years ago when Mike Todd used to do the Fish and Game show here on my program, there was a lot of concern that we're not seeing an increase or even numbers of hunters and fishermen that really wanted to buy a license and participate. We were seeing declining numbers. Is that still the same? Doug, is fishing as popular as it once was, or is it also on the decline?
Well, based on...
I got to turn your mic up. Go ahead.
Based on license sales, fishing has been pretty stable.
Really?
And it goes up, particularly when we have a good salmon year. We see a lot of license sales related to good steelhead and salmon fishing. And but the long-term trend is kind of a decrease in the percentage of people in Idaho that are buying license. So the license trends are stable, maybe up a little bit. But as far as the percentage of people in Idaho that are purchasing license, that has been decreasing.
What about the hunting end of it, Kelton?
It's the exact same thing. I mean, we look at we're just a smaller percentage. I guess you look at the Magic Valley. It's amazing to see what's happened in this area since I moved here. I've lived in the Magic Valley for 11 years now, and we've increased. Twin Falls County is over 80,000 people now, where when I moved here it was around 60. And the Magic Valley from Kasia to Gooding is setting in over 200,000, and so we're really seeing an increase, and we still see that small growth rate in license sales, but per capita hunters and anglers are less.
Are you as concerned as they were like 2-3 years ago?
You're always concerned because, I mean, we want to make sure that we have a solid, sustained number of anglers and hunters out there. I think one of the things you always are concerned also about is you go down on the South Hills on a given weekend, and it's getting loved to death in some areas because we're having higher populations of people. And so I think you're going to see a lot of changes over the next few years just because we have higher populations of people. I mean, when I graduated from high school, we had close to 800,000 people in Idaho. Mm-hmm. Now we're sitting at 1.6 million.
Wow.
And that's in 30 years, and so we've really seen an increase in people, but it's like everything else. We haven't seen an increase in fees. Things cost more, and so the only place that we're getting money is from new hunters and fishermen.
Absolutely. Caller, I know you're waiting. Just wait about another minute more. I'll be right with you because I've got to tell everybody about the weather real quick, brought to everybody this hour by Scarrows Meats. 331 North Road in Jerome, and they've got that tax return meat bundle. What is that? 75 pounds of beef and pork and chicken cut the way you like it for only $250. And if it's processed and cut over at Scarrows Meats, it's the best. Quality products at reasonable rates. Selling taste one bite at a time. Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Here's Michael Rogers with the weather.
Hey everyone, Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Not a bad day, nice looking day in the Magic Valley neighborhood. Sunny clouds, the official term from the National Weather Service is called cloudy. 61 for the high today. Now it gets better tomorrow because you're going to see a high of 71, but we start a warming trend, so it's going to warm back up into the 70s, so things will be for today comfortable. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got.
Thank you, Michael. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road in Jerome. Oh, boy, they are selling taste one bite at a time. Caller, go ahead, please. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, I have a question. Does a child have to be of a certain age in the state of Idaho in order to hunt, for instance, I was turning 5 just as the pheasant season opened. My dad was a gunsmith, made me a special little shotgun, and I actually got my first game birds at that age. Would I have been illegal in this state, or will I hang up and listen on the air?
All right, good. Kelton is waiting to write somebody up a ticket. Go ahead.
Fortunately, the statute of limitations has passed, and yes, it was illegal. And so, no, you saw a lot of that several years ago, but now it's you have to have a hunting and fishing license in the state. Well, you don't have to have a fishing license until you're 14,
Right.
but you have to have a hunting license to kill any game animal or any animal, and so youth have to be at least 10 years old to be able to hunt.
Doug, while I've got you here on the program, and I mentioned this to Kelton last time he was on the show last month, are you going to have any more of those fishing days, special fishing days coming up this summer?
Yeah, Kelton has been really good about organizing those. There's 2 different ways you can fish without a license. One would be Free Fishing Day coming up, and I think that is June 9th. Is that right?
Yes.
June 9th.
Are you playing with the wires over there?
I am not. I'm playing with 2 baseballs.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
And then the second opportunity would be, as the trout trailer is located various places around the Magic Valley this year, if you show up and sign in, you can be fishing without a license that time. And the intent for the trout trailer is to try to take people to places that perhaps they didn't know existed, an easy place to go fishing, and also kind of give them the know-how on how to do it. Because there's a lot of people out there that want to try, but don't really have the opportunity or concerned they don't know, and we have people that can show them how.
You know, I think kudos to you in the fishing game, and I've said this to Kelton. I think that experience that I saw with all the people coming over here to Rocky's Pond for that fishing day, my goodness, I mean, that really must have instilled a lot of people to want to continue on fishing. A good family event.
Well, that's our hope. You know, one of the difficult things is to say we're having an effect. We hope by putting fishing rods in people's hands that haven't had it before that it becomes a lifelong value of theirs, whether or not they buy a license every year. As they move through their life, if they still value fishing, perhaps that helps change decisions they might make.
Yeah.
You know, well, I was going to say one thing on that also, is because it's like, you know, everybody's wanting to get out and they want to go on this vacation with their family and do something, and it costs so much. Angling doesn't. In the state of Idaho, you know, for like $23, mom and dad can each get their fishing license. They can take all their kids fishing, and it's the cost of a thing of night crawlers. Take your tent, go up the canyon, go for day trips. We got tons of fishing holes around here. Doug does a great job managing them, and you're going to catch a fish in dozens of different places around this area.
Yeah, let me ask you a question there, though, for safety factors. In the spring of the year, going up like Cottonwood Creek and up Rock Creek and that type of thing, concerns for rattlesnakes?
Maybe for you, but the rest of us aren't afraid of them because they don't chase us.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Kelton. No, but is there a fear that people need to be aware of? If maybe they're city dwellers and just turn the kids loose, running them down the creek in the springtime, is it a concern to be careful of and be aware of?
Well, you should always be careful. I would say be aware. In most cases, when you do encounter a rattlesnake, it lets you know it's there. You give it a wide circle and you don't have any issues. You should just keep your eyes open. It's not a real everyday threat, but it is a remote chance you might encounter one.
Yeah, you're more apt to run into a porcupine or a skunk. And I was going to tell you, Zeb, 95% of rattlesnake bites in the state of Idaho are by males, and alcohol is typically involved.
Really?
It is. I mean, when you start looking at the snake bite statistics, it's because people find a rattlesnake
and they start playing with it.
They start poking it with a stick, and typically they get a little bolder with a little liquid fire in them, and that's when they get bit.
You know, it's nice to have both of you on the program, but there's a question I've got, and we've talked to Kelton about this in the past as far as the poaching aspect with hunting. Do you see a lot of that same insidious poaching like with the fishing, Doug?
You know, when it comes to people that aren't complying with the rules, they're always a small percentage of our constituents out there. there's usually 5% of people that get noticed and basically thumb their nose at fishing rules. Our officers tend to find them, and also people turn them in. And so, yeah, we have non-compliance. We have people that get greedy, and it's probably no different than anything else. There's some people that just don't follow the rules.
I got a question, and I'm guilty of this, and I'll stand corrected on this. But when I go out into a boat, whether it's on a lake or whether it's on the Snake River, I don't carry any identification like billfolds or anything like that. So basically, if I'm fishing, I'm against the law because I don't have the license on my person. Or can I say to the warden, if he says, where's your license, it's up in my pickup or whatever. I hate carrying anything in my pockets whatsoever when I go on a boat.
I would recommend taking your ID and your fishing license, especially your fishing license. It's just one of those things. It's no different than when you're driving down the road and you don't have your driver's license. You're going to get the same response. Sometimes you're going to get a citation from some officers because you're not properly ID'd and you don't have your license, and other times they're going to say, okay, bring it in tomorrow and let me see it.
Right.
It just depends on, and that's at the officer's discretion.
Okay. You have some comment on that, Doug?
I was going to say, in most cases, people, if they do get written up, it's in such a way that if you can demonstrate you do have your license, usually to the judge, that in most cases that's dropped.
Okay. All right. I got to sell some tires right now at my favorite place, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, with a big spring tire sale going on right now. My goodness, they've got the Ultra Z900, their best all-season touring tire, on sale. Be sure and stop in. 20% more tread life, outstanding wet and dry traction, quieter riding tire for your cars. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline, and Randy on Overland. And don't forget they've got tires for all your vehicles, your horse trailers, boat trailers, everything. The best in brake service, shocks and struts, front end alignments, batteries, it's all there. Service reigns supreme. Absolutely the best at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. We're about ready to wrap this up. I'll go to you first, Kelton. Have you got anything that you want to add to our hunting aspect of our show this morning?
I really don't. Just get out and start enjoying yourself. It's a beautiful time of year, and I reiterate, if you got a question for Doug, call today on fishing.
You bet. I've seen a lot of pheasants. I told you that before the program started.
Well, that's the cool part. Well, it's breeding season for sage grouse, sharp-tail. Yeah. All your birds are, getting out there and saying hello, and so you're going to be seeing them out and about quite a bit. It's been fun to see them, and I love hearing them cackle in the morning and at night.
Absolutely. Doug, fishing has always been a love of mine, and I've got away from it the last 20 years to the point where I've only gone a handful of times. But it's absolutely a very inexpensive hobby to really enjoy the outside.
It is, and I kind of wanted to spin off a little bit on your talk before. Whatever you do, just take some kids out and give them a chance to experience what the spring has to offer. Kelton was talking about the amazement at how many animals you can see. The fact that you see a rattlesnake or a porcupine is totally new to a lot of kids. So if you can, tuck a kid under your arm, bring him out, and let him get a chance to see what's out there and be wondrous about what Idaho has to offer.
And southern Idaho, really, they've got a plethora of different kinds of fishing, don't they?
Yeah. The neat thing about southern Idaho is you can go from sturgeon in the Snake River to finding mountain lakes that have grayling and cutthroat in them and everything in between. And
like over at Lake Walcott, what are the basics over there? Do they have bass and trout and everything else? I mean, give us a little bit of the basics that you're going to find over there.
Yeah, if you go to Lake Walcott, there's two reasons you'd go there. One, the trout is supplemented by the department for the anglers out there, so you'll get some rainbow trout fishing. And then the other big thing there is the smallmouth bass. There's a really good population there. There's tournaments that are take place on there because of the good fishing, and you just got to mind the access conditions by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
What about the Snake River's got some bass too, doesn't it? Quite a few.
Yeah, the Snake River throughout this reach, one of the things that's difficult is access. There's a lot of canyon in this reach. You can't just park your car and be fishing in 2 minutes, but maybe that's part of the experience. Take a rough road in, go on in and throw a lure, or just enjoy the canyon. The Snake River Canyon is beautiful.
Now, let me set a scenario here. Here we have April 16th, and I would say that the weather weather's going to stabilize, hopefully by the middle of May, when my leg is supposed to get feeling better. What would be wrong with the three of us jumping into a fish and game truck and going to a pond and, as promised for 7 years, go fishing?
I'll send you the invite in the mail, and we'll work on that.
I can imagine.
We probably won't take a fishing game truck, but we'll go fishing.
You know, the thing is about taking Kelton with us, is he going to be like those little kids throwing rocks in the water all the time and running around making noise?
I'm worse than a little kid when it comes to fishing. The fish are either biting or I'm throwing rocks.
Not when I'm there.
Yeah.
He gets bored easy.
I do.
I want to say thank you to both of you guys. You open up, I think, fields of thought for people to really get involved and enjoy the great outdoors. And if they have questions, they can call you over at the office, right? And Kelton, give the information on the number if you want to, please.
Call us at 324-4359 or go online at fishandgame.idaho.gov, and "and" is spelled out.
Okay. Kelton Hatch, Doug McGargle, two really good guys representing the Idaho Fish and Game on the program this morning, and we thank everybody for listening and all your calls. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06 for more Zeb at the Ranch right here on KBAR 1230 and streaming live all over the world on ZebBell.com. The way things were, or the way things ought to be. Have a great day.